Rebound continues after the huge sell-off we saw to start the week for the overall market. We're right back to the upside again today to the tune of 1+% for both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 at this point. Yeah, VIX basically right back to some of the levels we saw at the end of last week after that huge spike to begin the week. This is a daily chart for the VIX. You can see all the way back to 23 coming into play here once again this morning. Topped out above 70 on Monday. Ton of earnings to get through this morning, including SMCI downside in a big way. Shopify, the opposite direction, 12% plus to the upside. Pretty impressive for Shopify. Disney downside, Rivian downside. Reddit was kind of disappointing. I mean, not really doing a heck of a lot here. We'll touch on Reddit. They reported after the close yesterday. The big one, though, Airbnb, ABNB, selling off sharply here. If you haven't seen it this morning, a ton of analysts with opinions on all of those this morning. We'll get into a little bit as well. Oh, yeah, Lyft. I mean, the list goes on and on and on here. Busy day. On the earnings side of things, welcome into what should be a pretty impressive Wednesday. There's the S&P SPY right back to the highs from yesterday. We saw that sharp pull in into the close yesterday, and then it kind of continued after market down to 436 for the SPY, but right back to the top end of the range here. Good look.
I almost ran out of pages on my document, Brendan, with all the earnings reports I had to summarize this morning. It was ridiculous, but really good, obviously, for trading. So very excited for this trading day. CVS also reported. Looks was a bit tough for them. Novo Nordisk also reported on their sales dropping off a little bit, Brendo, as they face competition from other people trying to get into the GLP-1 space. But yeah, lots to talk about. Upstart really surprised me, though. Wow.
Another one, yeah. Cathie Wood name that is moving around here this morning as well. We'll get into that. The analysts had a lot to look at this morning. I mean, you guys were going through some of the upgrades and downgrades, but it was a bit of a challenge as far as what to focus on. There's this one as well, Beyond Meat after the close coming up today. So BYND closely followed because of the short percent on Beyond Meat. Not really doing anything here this morning, but we'll touch on that later in the day. Yeah, crude oil, Bitcoin back upside, crude oil back upside as well. 2% right now, just marching higher here in the pre-market. So I guess that was the dip. I don't know. I mean, it was short-lived if it was, but it seems like everything's back to upside.
You wouldn't know it if you look at any of the prices at the gas stations. Oil is going down every day. Coming to work, CL is down, West Texas Intermediate is down. No move at the gas station, obviously, but more taxation on this side anyway, Brendo. Lots of important stuff. I mentioned to you off camera, consumer credit, we're getting that at 3 p.m. today, which is really interesting because we're hearing, some tightness in the consumer credit market. So I want to see exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it's a little warm in here this morning. Looks like it's normal, though, but I don't know. I'm going to go check the temperature. Aurora Cannabis up on Q1 results as well. I think this chart tells the story. Again, if you're joining a little bit late here, the VIX basically right back down, guys. 23 coming into play here this morning after we topped out above 65.
Welcome, everybody. You can't make it up. I literally have the VIX chart up. You're going through the entire thing. Okay, he's going through all the earnings. Brandon's going to talk about all the different stocks, and then I'm going to show the VIXs right back to where it was on the 5th. There's no point doing that. But you know what?
What's up?
You have some uplifting earnings from Upstart. We're going to be shopping for some gains. It was a bit of an Airbnb flea on their report, and there was nothing uplifting about Lyft's earnings. Okay. And I've got absolutely nothing to say for SMCI. I have nothing for you, SMCI. SMC die. SMC didn't fly. SMC quad do. Like, first of all, I told Obi this. This reminded me a little bit of what happened with Qualcomm, where you had that huge run in the aftermarket. Only Qualcomm, you sat down the next day and you were gapping back to where it was before. This is a little different. This gave it all back at last night and is now gapping further down on a margin mess. So this stock is a mess, SMCI. We'll see if it can actually hold on to some of this support, but I was going to mention the same thing about the VIX too. We're right back where we started. So all that doom and gloom, and Apple is setting up for a 210 break, and Tesla's setting up for a 204 break, and Nvidia is setting up for a 108 break. But if SMCI was some kind of a warning shot, that AMD sell-off and that 134 Still thinking a little bit bearish there. And Lyft does not look good at all. There's some day two type plays to watch and pay attention to. I like Uber a little bit less because of what happened to Lyft in a certain sense. And I do not want to forget about Zoom Info because I still think that thing is going to be short. It was a great day going long, basically Uber and Nvidia all day. I don't feel the same way. I don't feel as strongly, Obi, as I did yesterday about Uber for continuation, mostly because Lyft got spanked. I don't wonder if that's not going to be an opportunity to short here. Not looking good for Lyft, but that's what we love earnings season. There's something for everybody today. Like, I feel like you could easily be, if you want to be bearish today, there's a half a dozen stocks that you could look at. And I think the same thing if you want to be bullish. That's the best thing about these markets.
Yeah, no, a distinctly different look on Uber versus Lyft here. So Lyft, I just pulled it up right here. So you can take a look at the daily chart here. You can see that it's coming down into some of these previous support levels, and it had been trending down on the daily prior to earnings. Now, if you take a look at Uber and what Uber did off of their earnings, they were trending down, but then they gapped up pretty much a little bit of a reversion. And then now looking back at it, I'm like, okay, what? Maybe we're like it bid up all day, closed near high a day. Maybe some of that buying pressure coming in off of this reversion of this multi-day trend to the downside, and we're pushing back up. So yeah, Uber day two definitely going to be on watch, closing near the highs. We saw what happened in the market at the end of the day. A little bit of rate-related flushing going on across the board. But take a look at Uber. Uber held fast and strong to its trend there and closed near high of day, and then still holding 65s in the pre-market. And then its competitor LYFT gapping down to the downside below some previous supports. So yeah, there is a little bit of a disconnect there. Going to be looking for that potential continuation on Uber today, and let's see what we do with some of these pre-market lows on Lyft off of their earnings report. But yeah, let me know what you guys are trading today. What are your plans? What are your top ideas in the chat? I'll be honest, I haven't done much preparation. I got home last night and I knocked out. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? At least I got some rest. At least I got some sleep. Woke up at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, and I'm look at the time, and I'm like, damn, still in my work clothes.
Well, you know what though, man? Enjoy that ish while you can. I'm just saying, like when you're, before you have like before you have like a family and whatnot, like the ability to just, oh, you know what? I feel like I just feel like going to sleep right now. Who cares? I feel like waking up when I want to wake up. I feel like going to sleep.
I'll have you know, I meant for it to be, I saw the bed and I was like, I'm just going to lie down for 15 minutes. I got a lot of work to get done. And that nap was more of a slumber.
It happens.
Yep.
It happens. Oh, just very quickly, thank you for the super chat, Vulcan there. CSEC? I don't know if I got that right, but you let me know. Why is the NQ up today? Anything we missed? A lot of the earnings that happened overnight are probably not going to necessarily move the market around too much. You did have some moves in USD yen. You've got volatility coming back down, and then you still have a bit of the recovery trade happening. So, I mean, it's easy enough to say all that stuff after the fact, but at the end of the day, you know, price action is what it is. We've been recovering for 3 days now since that last push to the downside. Some of it's probably to do with USD yen, and some of it's going to have to do with yields. Apparently, SMCI, since I said SMCI, I know it's still down 13%, but it just went like $10. This is why everybody wants this thing to split. Because, like, I'm looking, the spread right now is $3 on the stock pre-market. Now $2.30. That's a little bit insane. So it's not the most tradable stock. I remember when 800 broke to the downside, and if you thought, like, when 800 would break on Tesla when it was up there, you could get filled at like 700. You go short at $799 and like 75 cents or 50 cents. When SMCI broke 800, I'm pretty sure you weren't getting filled till like 797. And I know because I tried to get 799 and a half, and there was no chance I was getting the fill. So it's a different kind of stock. Certainly, I hope the spread tightens up a little bit to make it a little bit more tradable, but SMCI is certainly going to be in play. At this point, it's still going to open up short sell restricted down 10%. Oh, and all is going to be good in the hood. check out that QR code right there, because stonks.com, it's going to be a fun one today. I don't know how everybody did guessing Airbnb earnings last night with their free entry, but today it's Robin Hood. So you can make your prediction. Obviously, we've been going over this almost every single day, how much fun it is. And you can have a $1,000 prize pool, which is divvied up this way. See, I can show it to you. First place gets, and this is closest to the price of Robinhood. I'm going to say at 430. I'll double check it a little bit later. 250 for first place, 150 for second, third is 100. Then the top 50% get the rest or pieces of the 500. Like, that's how I got like $6 out of Meta, not because I guessed it all that correctly. I'm not going to make a guess on Robinhood yet. I want to see it trade a little bit here. So if you're interested, go to stonks.com, absolutely free. You claim the free selection, and then you just make your prediction. Pretty easy to do, and a heck of a lot of fun. So that's Stonks. Cannot wait to see some of these things at the open after earnings here, because the volatility in the names today, Upstart is up 30. You've got Shopify, which is up 17%. You've got down 14% on Liv, down 12% on SMCI, the double-digit move. Airbnb down double digits as well. There's so many things that are out of the pocket, trading at new prices in good areas that we always want to see.
Yeah, for sure. I want to shout out Joseph Robinson Entertainment in the chat here. We appreciate all the analysis and information you provide. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Joseph, for the super chat. That's awesome. Appreciate you as well. But yeah, we try to provide a little bit of our own opinions.
That's how we try to do, and we hope everybody enjoys it.
Well, there.
Before we go back to the desk, I will cop to this, so I just, whatever. Fabian, what is this poll? Pick your fighter, Yogi or Ferdinand. So it's Bears versus Bulls today, apparently. See, I would put in brackets just so you guys know. Yogi's the Bear, right? Ferdinand the Bull. So the question would be, what do you think? Because I personally, there's so many individual names that I like for shorts today. But overall, the market's still in this, until proven otherwise, I kind of feel as if, the overall names, like Tesla feels like a potential breakout today. I mean, Apple could take that 210 from yesterday. We keep talking about Nvidia, but there's so many individual names that I kind of like to the bear side. So I just went with Ferdinand over there. I feel like Yogi the Bear might not be something that everybody gets. I'm old, so I know Yogi the Bear, but I don't know if do you know Yogi the Bear?
Boo boo.
Okay, you do. Hey, boo boo.
Hey, boo boo.
Let's get back to the desk before we get out of hand.
Just hearing some comments coming through here. There are a few earnings calls on right now, so just be aware if you're watching anything that's reported specifically this morning, pre-market, it could be one of those. Here's a couple others moving around here. Shopify, first off, nice look, as we said, $10 to the upside here this morning on a beat. They pointed specifically to AI and also increase their forecast going forward. Also on the e-commerce side of things, Cart, 9%. For Cart this morning, 31 up to 34. Not a lot of volume or action here in the pre-market. They reported after the close yesterday, but people buying stuff still.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Because when you look at Shopify's report, Brendo, their gross merchandise volume actually increased aggressively year over year. So that was good there. Their gross profit dollars surged 25%. They beat on the top and bottom line. Revenue climbed about 21.5%. That gross merchandise volume, that's it, 22% year over year to about 67.2. That's obviously people buying different things. The company's forecasting low to mid 20% for revenue growth for the next quarter.
It's I recently went through the process of a friend of a friend was putting up an e-commerce site, and I sat there and went through the process with them of starting a store on Shopify, and they have all the templates there, they have the websites there, and it's just click, 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 and it was literally 20 minutes, and the thing was basically ready to post.
And they do all the payment stuff for you as well, right?
Yeah, they make it so easy to get up and running. So yeah, great look for Shopify, Canada on that one. I wanted to mention Instacart from the angle as well. I've fallen into this habit of, on the weekend now, happily paying I think it's $15 delivery fee for Costco.
Okay.
Same-day Costco delivery through Instacart. And I mean, there's no restrictions. And you can actually schedule what time you want it to come.
I've got questions, Brendo. So is it the same price as the Costco? Because I remember getting the catalog from Costco and it tells me online price is something, in-store price is something else.
Yeah, no, so you order actually off the Costco website.
Nice.
And then I guess they did a deal with Instacart, so the delivery actually comes through Instacart. So it's
Cool.
If I don't have to go to a Costco parking lot on the weekend, I'll
agree with that 100%.
happily pay $15 for that.
Oh God, yeah.
So I like Shopify more than Instacart, and I think the reason should be obvious. I have over 1.5 million shares volume on Shopify. Right now I see about 15,000 shares printed on Instacart. So it's like there's a local trend that this could easily break. Like, don't get me wrong, if this was another stock, you take this out and go flying on Instacart, but 15,000 shares is not a lot. That sounds like great news for them, and obviously it's reacting pretty well to the quarter. Shopify, I mean, this looks pretty spicy. Like, this is it's already broken any downward trend from the last two peaks. It's through this obvious resistance here at 62, like 61.5 to 62, which I had in my note. That's where I want to be dip buying into. The 50 period has been breached. You have resistance at, don't know why I drew that line. Let's just remove that because that should be closer to 70. I was pretty lazy when I did that, obviously. So you have no resistance, I think, on a big way until $70. I don't think it's getting to 70 today. It doesn't have to. All you have to do, to me, is hold on to that 61.5 zone on any kind of a dip. So that could lead you into VWAP dip buys. There's so many nice little setups to go back into prior support or above that support and give you a continuation. So it was bigger than the expected move by about 5%. I think we were expecting 11.8, so it's actually by 6%. Much bigger than the expected move there for Shopify. This looks good for a continuation play here. It's not exactly the same as Uber. It's a little bit more extreme than the Uber idea. And remember, when you were trading Uber was a breakout and, nice breakout and then a continuation because it had broken and it was gapping above, but it really needed to dip. It dipped right back into some prior key levels. It ended up holding out at like 71 here and not retesting down around the 60 level. So it ended up holding this one, 61, and then going. And then when you finally held the 62.5, that was a continuation. So I want to play the same pattern on Shop. If it's going to drop at the open, try to be patient. The only losing long I had on Uber was the one that was too early. Like, it was right away, maybe a couple of minutes in. Then everything else after that, after the 61 hold, and then the VWAP double held it twice. Then the breakout at the top. Everything after that was great. So sometimes you have to wait for the move to come back to you a little bit. Palantir was the same way. Palantir, you had to wait for it to come back when it tried to fill in the gap and just be patient about buying that dip.
Yeah, so I like Upstart here as well. A bit of a start to the upside off of their earnings report there. Sideways consolidation for the most part since prior earnings. Let's see if we can get through some of these highs. 32.75 here, and kind of revisit some of the earnings that we had earlier this year. What's going on, Randy?
Rivian's going down.
Oh, we're switching up the plushie. Is that what we call them?
What are we doing here, Randy?
All right, we're going bullish.
Are we both
flipping?
bulls? Rivian's down. Can we have one bear just for Rivian, okay. Airbnb, and because Rivian's bad.
I like the
Airbnb's bad. They're down 10 points right now. Lyft is down 14%, but the market's up. It's just a bunch of individual names that look pretty bad.
Shopify's up. Shopify's doing well.
Oh, Canada.
It's falling over.
Yeah, well, I mean, and maybe it's because someone's always messing with it that it's falling over there, Randy. No, it's all good. But my question for you is, we've been talking a lot, I don't know if you want to grab the mic, we've been talking a lot recently about Rivian and how, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we keep saying, let's wait another quarter, let's wait another quarter.
I know.
We keep waiting more and more quarters here, and they're still at, like, it was 32,000, I want to say they're losing per vehicle, maybe 32.7. 32.7 they're losing per vehicle still. I mean, they have cash. They got $4 billion, but it's just $5 billion, I think, still. But
the cash burn is the biggest problem.
The R2, the new models that are coming. Yeah, we're waiting. RJ, come on, get things going here. But I know it's hard to be patient when especially you're an investor with cash burn like that. So I don't know. Patience is a virtue, but how long can we wait? We'll see. The tie-up with Volkswagen should start to show benefits soon, but not quite soon enough, maybe. Another couple quarters, folks. It is what it is.
Yeah. And sometimes you see another couple quarters and another couple quarters.
You know what? There's lots of Rivians on the road. I saw 4 yesterday.
That's true. You see them all over the place.
There are.
And we're a much smaller market than elsewhere, but they're all over the place. And so give them credit. Let them get their traction.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're not Ford.
So I'm not giving up yet. They're not Ford. That's a good answer. Ford is actually nasty. Thank you, Randy. Thanks for the coffee, brother.
Oh, Randy, Sharif wants to ask you a question.
Uh-oh. Sharif,
what's the question?
There are not me getting in a couple of questions. Randy, I was reading today that Rivian is looking at actually reducing the price of production for the R1T and the R1S. They're actually going to make it a bit cheaper. So they're changing kind of the production line. How do you feel about that? Because we knew Rivian, they were always known for doing things always the hard way, kind of making everything in-house. What's the look there?
For a startup like Rivian, and I compare them to another startup like Lucid, your supply chain costs, the bigger you get, it should go down. Huge established companies like, again, the big three in Stellantis, Ford, and GM, supply chain has been managed really well for decades and decades. However, there's challenges. Inflation is a thing. For a startup like Rivian to get their supply chain under control, to bring those costs down, raw materials, labor costs, and so forth, it's not easy. It's not easy. So for them to get that under control and to bring the overall costs down, especially in the economic situation that we're in, challenging, but eventually profitable for them and for their investors down the road. How much remains to be seen if they can bring their cost per unit down. That reflects on the new models as well. They've learned how to build a quality product. If they can extend that to a more cost-effective model down the road and their supply chain gets cheaper, good stuff. How much remains to be seen, but it's a positive thing on a lot of fronts. Let's hope they can pull it off.
All right. Get this man a segment. That's what I'm saying. Get this man. Learn to trade, learn automotive insights from Randy every single time. And he's the one that's been calling all the good ExxonMobil moves as well. So shout out to that. I do believe, are we going back to the desk? Because I see a certain lady in red ready at the screen, which I hope is not an ominous sign. Are we good? Yep, let's go on over, see some upgrades and downgrades from Adara.
2 day one earnings names to kick things off here on the upgrade side. We have Lumen. This one's been running recently, getting an upgrade here from Goldman Sachs to neutral with a $4 price target. Upstart getting an upgrade here from Citigroup. So good morning for these 2 earnings names. We have Enphase getting an upgrade from XA and BNB Paribas, trading up about 2.5%. And ARM, after SoftBank's earnings, getting an upgrade here from Bernstein. On the downgrade side, another earnings name, Super Microcomputer, getting a downgrade from BofA Securities with a $700 price target. Molson Coors, which is also another recent earnings play here, getting a downgrade by TD Cowen. We have TripAdvisor getting downgraded here by Riley Securities. And Amgen receiving a downgrade by Wells Fargo, down almost 3%. Quite a few interesting names on this list, guys.
Yeah, ARM being one of them. Enphase too. I feel like we're going to talk about a couple of those, but ARM, a lot of things did some crazy, nasty stuff a couple of days ago. And remember, we were putting things, I was putting things into a couple of buckets. You had the wipeout bottoms and the things that were trying to break back out above the Friday resistance. Well, it's above Friday's close, ARM. And then you've got this in here, like right around 118, this gap from Thursday that ARM's got in store. So there's your not nice move to the downside. I don't want to save some bad adjectives for the stocks that are down today and not something that's up 3%. So there's your reversal from that nasty move to the downside. And this is another name. It's kind of like Nvidia kind of looks like it could break back out today. ARM looks like it could break back out above that 118. It's set up pretty well. Now, obviously, pre-market volume's not going to be good on this one. You don't really ever trade or look at least I don't, trade or look at ARM until we get a bit of an opening range. This is not the stock that I usually want at 9:30. It's usually the stock that I want at 9:45 or 10 o'clock or something along those lines. And if it's above 118 and trending, I think that would look pretty spicy. But we'll get to some of those other upgrades and downgrades when we go through the rundown. It's not all roses today. That's the interesting thing. For an up 1.3% day in the NASDAQ and a few days in a row after that big down day, there are still some bearish names that we're definitely going to get to.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to kind of go back. Fabian, can we see that board once again, real quick? Okay, yeah, no worries. I was just looking at kind of the plans for today, and yeah.
Here we go.
So ARM Upstart is also on there, and then SMCI. So that's something to know. SMCI with a downgrade, so already pushing down. Reverting majority of its move, and then also now getting a little bit of a confluence with that downgrade. And then Upstart, we talk about it's trading up. Again, we talk about it kind of coming into some of those horizontal resistances that have been holding since prior earnings. And then they got a little bit of an upgrade as well by Citigroup, Bank of America Securities. Downgrade on the SMCI should be interesting. Taking a look at this chart on SMCI here, let's go to the hourly. We've already been in a strong downtrend off of this consolidation that attempted to push through that 1,000 mark. Look, a failure to follow through into that 1,000 in the middle of June. So the monthly fails to follow through that 1,000. Then we're selling off quite aggressively, about a 50% retracement, trading in and around 500s as of right now. Let's see if we can get to that 500 level. Let's go to a little bit higher, 3 hours. Look at this. We got pretty much space to go until some significant supports down here at resistance turn support, 360s and maybe even 240s right here. Consolidation from prior year, right? We've come up quite a ways during this AI run. SMCI a little bit, perhaps just a little bit overextended all the way up to that 12,000 and then pulling back in right back into that 500 mark. Let's see if this trend continues and we get that strong continuation off of earnings and a stack of that downgrade today. Again, a little bit of air to the downside, Neil.
All right, Micron popped up here while we were discussing some analyst moves this morning. They're restarting their share buyback program. So 4.5% here for MU, 90.50 up to 93.20. I mean, this is kind of taking a back seat, rightfully so. I'm obviously missing some data here on my daily chart, but this is kind of taking a back seat here when it comes to semiconductors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about HK Hynix yesterday and how they're doing the deal with the Nvidia, but obviously Micron makes high bandwidth memory as well, and they're very much an AI play. So here's the look with respect to this dividend. Originally authorized on May 21st, 2018, they temporarily suspended it, kind of like what Intel did the other day, on December 21st, 2022. They have a commitment to strengthening the balance sheet and maintaining investment grade credit, which is why they suspended it. Looks like the balance sheet's a bit better now, Brendo. They can do it.
Yeah, not much follow through on this move, but we'll keep an eye on MU. I'm just hearing as well, Lyft CEO on the earnings call, primetime bookings came down in Q2, expected to come down further in Q3. So it actually popped up on that, but down significantly anyways for Lyft. So just be aware of the earnings call. That was 5 minutes ago or so. Earnings call is still on here for Lyft. Let's get a look at the market here to kick things off this morning.
52.67, guys, where we closed out yesterday. Overnight high 53 1/3. We're still looking at that 53.5 resistance level that we talked about yesterday. Let's see if we're able to breach that or even get up to it. As support, let's use 5,300.
If you haven't done so yet, go down to the description of this video right now and look for the watch list link. Hit that link and then enter your email address. You can get the absolutely free watch list delivered right to your inbox every single day. Did I mention it was free? Yes, it's in the description. Also, go down there right now. SMCI, I mean, there's a ton to get through here this morning on the earnings front alone. SMCI, one of the bigger movers so far this morning, grinding along the lows right now, all the way back to 530 here this morning. Long list of analyst moves looking mostly negative here, but not a good look, not a good report for Supermicro.
Yeah, look, I'll make this super brief because we have a lot to get through. So looks like earnings here were the problem. Their profitability, their margins are shrinking because revenue is still expanding. Revenue exceeded expectations. However, costs seem to be going up. I don't know if it's inflation related. We'll have to wait for the call. However, they did announce a 10-for-1 stock split. Get ready, retail investors. That takes effect October 1st, Brendan.
There was a volume spike that just came in there, but didn't really react to it, but just popped up on the scanner in front of me. But yeah, I mean, huge gap here, guys. Trying to hold 530, 520 going to be important.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. It needs to hold that 530 level. Remember, it's going to be short sell restricted at the open as long as nothing drastic changes. Like if it goes 4% up, and by 9:30, that can all change. So it will require an uptick for people hitting the bid to try to go short. That's always an important one. But I think what's the most interesting about what happened here was the initial reactions. One, if you're watching the aftermarket show with Adair, myself, and Brian Shannon when this happened live, somebody fat finger, well, I don't know if it's a fat finger. Somebody was going short into that move. Maybe I'll go to a 3-minute chart and show that a little better. Somebody before the earnings came out was selling, and it was a little bit of a volume spike. You can see it down here in that sell, and then it was trying to unwind. When the numbers came out, it was a huge explosion to the upside. I feel like there were some people caught off side here that might have exacerbated the move to the upside. And oddly enough, Brian Shannon, once again, technically called the top. He said it'll have trouble getting to 732, and it topped out at 728, just in front of that 730 level. So you make that reversal. Now you're gapping down on the margin miss isn't good. Like 11% margins when a 17 was expected. That's not good at all. You already saw Intel get punished for that. Not the same company or anything like that. But if we don't hold on to the pre-market lows, the gap on this could be precipitous. Like there's not really a lot. Like you have the 500 level as a round number, and then you don't have much else until you start to get into the 400s here. So this is it's like one of those over-under kind of ideas. You might hear us say that a couple of times. I hear today, because it's SSR and it's SMCI, if it simply holds the low here, this could easily explode. Maybe not to green, but certainly into the 7s and 800s here. To be sure, because it's such an explosive potential SSR bounce. So I just want to have a look at that open. If it holds the open, look for SSR bounce. Or, sorry, not the open. If it holds the pre-market low, look SSR bounce. If it loses it in the opening range, only want to be short. And adjacent to this, I already talked about ARM, and we'll get to NVIDIA. I don't know if we'll get to NVIDIA, so I'm going to try to lump them in here at the same time. AMD had this level. It was super strong 2 days ago, and 134 was the afternoon support. It lost that instantaneously at the open yesterday, and then right away, 134 turned into resistance again. So you got this 134 line that I think is an obvious over-under for AMD. To me, it doesn't get any more clear than that. Underneath it, short. Above it, if it breaks quarters, think long to 140. I think that's almost as simple as it's going to get for a price level out there on AMD. And I don't wonder if you can't say the same thing about NVIDIA and this 108 level. There we go. Maybe not as clean as AMD's. And the difference between NVIDIA and NVIDIA running into that and testing the high support on a trend up. It was a great long here, everywhere all the way up to that 108. And then you're cresting into that 108. Whereas AMD has fallen underneath that level, so I'm a little bit more bearish on that one, at least at the outset. So those are the chip names I'm watching. Obviously SMCI and then AMD, NVIDIA. 108 NVIDIA looks a little more bullish than AMD. 144 AMD, like that for an over-under, but got to start with the short.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's just, again, we just talked about that SMCI, kind of that 500, 530 coming in. So just to add to that point, I kind of went back and see, we're trading at 531, right? So where and when were we at these prices last? You look back at it, we are right within the range from the first earnings report that we had this year on January 29th, the evening of January 29th. So take a look at that. earnings, initial earnings report of the year. We know that chips have been running, and take a look at that. I just put up an alert right here. After the day was done, we kind of bounced off of this 490, 500 holds, and then we start our travel all the way up to 1200, right? So some of these interesting levels here. We talk about looking at higher time frames to see where potential larger players may be sitting. Take a look at this 12-month chart, right? So if we're near some of those levels right now, you can see January, the low was 280 right here, and we've pretty much come in a decent chunk. Look at that wick on the yearly. So we've pretty much retraced over 50% of the range on the year, and we're pushing even lower at about 500 being a level of interest from that initial earnings day this year. So I'm going to be watching that 490. Let's see if we can drop down into those 500s. If not, it is SSR. If we do catch a bid, where do we revert to is going to be the next question. And I'm looking at some of those prior day lows right here, beginning of the week. Lows right here at that 530 mark as well. So it should be interesting, but we've been sold off quite aggressively after an attempt at 729 off of the earnings reaction high.
All right, let's go to Shopify, still hanging out at the highs here this morning, just below $64. Not much on the negative side to talk about here as far as Shop's earnings report, specifically pointing to AI demand essentially through the roof. Forecast was good. Yeah, I mean, volume's not great here, I guess, this morning for Shop, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, I was surprised about this because we've seen tightness in the consumer credit market. So you feel like people may or not be spending as much, but they are. So they exceeded both revenue and profit expectations for Q2. Revenue climbed 21.33% gross merchandise volume, which is the amount of products that they push through the website, 22% year-over-year increase. Monthly recurring revenue, 25% year-over-year increase. And the gross profit dollars, about 25%, showing that their margins are still holding intact, and they guided better than analysts expected.
I was just double checking here. I'm not seeing any comments coming through, but it says 8:30 for the earnings call here for Shop as well.
Yeah, I like that. I like that Shopify move there. Over about 19% of a move off of yesterday's closing price here on Shopify, pushing up very, very aggressively, getting bought up off of their earnings report. Now we've been kind of downtrending for majority of last month. A little bit of sideways action as well. Prior to that, you can see right here 70s. So prior earnings, we quadrupled quite aggressively, right? Bit of a base here at 57s. We dropped down through that base just a couple of weeks ago, right there, and then through this earnings, we're reclaiming some of this action here. So just looking back at it, I'm looking at some of these prior consolidation areas. We're having a little bit of trouble pushing back up. We had a strong bid, right? Take a look at that. Support potentially turning into resistance right here, 63.5 as of right now on Shopify. So something interesting to note. 68s, I like that as well. A little bit of support, a little bit of resistance here on 68s on Shopify, and then some support, prior support, 63.50s that we broke down. Now we're retesting some of those. So the question I'm asking is this selling pressure still on? Are we going to see some of that coming off of the open? I have no idea, but I'm definitely going to be watching the tape as some of these interesting levels come back into play from the past couple of months there. But yeah, a little bit of a multi-month downtrend from prior earnings, right? You can see that strong selling in February, and then strong selling in May off of earnings reaction. This is the first earnings this year that we've actually caught a little bit of a bid on Shopify. But taking a look at the range that we've been doing, this trend range, we're just revisiting the top of that trend range.
Yeah, and I think that's why look, Upstart is going to be different for a couple of reasons from Shopify. So short float on Shopify is only 1.5%, Upstart's, and I don't think we're going to get to Upstart. And these are very similar looking charts. If you look at like a 15-minute, maybe not on the daily there. Ooh, Palantir and Wendy's partner on AI and supply chain. Just very quickly, I just saw that headline pop through just same way as you guys did. Palantir moving. Wendy's. Okay, maybe not moving that much right now. Remember, Palantir would have been a continuation play. And if it could just break out yesterday's highs, nope, not breaking yesterday's highs, 27.5. Okay, I mean, live news, it is what it is. If it was breaking out, that would have interested me quite a bit. So let's go back over to Shopify. And so Upstart's 33% short float, Shopify 1.5. So you have gaps up where, as Obi mentioned, you're getting into, on the daily, that resistance channel. So if there's going to be a continuation, to me it would make sense that it would go dip first, being up this much, being up 17%, expected was 12. So previous highs right here, like 61.5, that's $2 from here. It could easily drop into that range, 61.5, lose VWAP, been trending a little bit back down into VWAP since we sat down, lose VWAP, and then somewhere in this channel. If it comes out of this channel to the downside, I don't want it. If it comes into this channel and comes back out to the upside, I do want it long. I'm going to keep it relatively simple with that one. And then Upstart, which is, it's looking so similar on a gap up and continuation play, but has 33% short float. When you do the same type of look here, like if I do the same look from the highs on Upstart, connecting this, like it broke that a long time ago. And then what you would see is from the time that it broke this, that happened here, you would then say it's done that on Upstart. So from the time, so this one did kind of break that ridiculous down channel. It doesn't have the channel resistance till about $34. It's above the 200. It's above the, that's obviously above the 50-period moving average. And then once again, on the 15-minute chart, it's the same look where it's got this local high to break into another one. One has the short forward and looks a little bit more bullish, but the setup is basically the same. Dip into this zone, which is like 29 to 29 quarter, and if you can come out of it upside, then you're going to go running. So two looks. Tend to prefer longs in something with a 33% short float, but these are your two larger runners today.
Sorry about
I had a point on YouTube, but we'll touch on it after. Disney, guys, just popping around here as well. Reporting this morning, this call is definitely still on, but holding 88 right now. Just be aware. Some comments coming through, including this one: positive impact of streaming services bundling on cancellations, advertising up 8% for the quarter. Not bad, but there's still a lot of question marks on the advertising side.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. It was a mixed report here. Let's go through it. Exceeded both revenue and earnings per share. Great there. Operating income increased 19%. Revenue increased 4%. That's all fine and great. But now let's look at the details. So their streaming service, where they really have been focusing. I'm talking about Hulu. I'm talking about Disney Plus, ESPN Plus. They're actually profitable for the first time ever. However, remove ESPN Plus from that, and that's no longer the case. It's actually negative. With respect to their theme parks, Brendo, actually down 6% year over year in the States, up 2%, internationally, and they want to spend about $60 billion to build out more parks or to upgrade their parks over the next decade. That's a lot of money.
I haven't actually been to Disneyland or Disney World even once. Yeah, so I don't have kids. I don't have the experience. But Neil, you?
You just say never, like not at all, ever?
Never.
Well, you know what? It's true. Like, it is what it is. I've been to Disney World when I was a kid. I was really trying to remember the age. I was pretty young when I went. I was so old that they had the Michael Jackson's 3D movie when I went to Disney World. Then I went to Disneyland with my brothers. And I have a cousin that lives out in LA. He actually lives in South Central, but or lived anyways. And then we went out to Disneyland when I was in my early teens. So I enjoyed it, but that's what kids do. They enjoy it. It's just so ridiculously expensive now.
I've been once, I think.
You've been?
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney World or Land?
The one in Florida?
Yes, that's Disney World.
Disney World.
It's a little,
okay.
Same thing, a bit bigger, a little bit better. As the notion, you don't have to deal with as much smog.
Universal Studios I like as well.
That's cool. Universal
That's absolutely
Studios.
solid, yeah.
That said, okay, Disney's down 3%. So we have to deal with, we can wax poetic about memories and all. I can say all the stuff that I always say about Disney, but it basically comes down to this. How many charts are we going to show that just show the same sloping downward trend? Disney has exactly the same one. Unfortunately, when I wrote down on my iPad, I have Disney and then 91. And I know exactly why I had 91, because yesterday's highs, you were bouncing in the early pre-market and looking like you were going to test 91. I was going to think the old over-under. If it fails 91, the last time it did, it was all downside here. You're at $87 now, so I'm not really looking to punch any lows here. Pretty far away from the resistance I would have liked for a short on Disney. Yeah, that's going to make it difficult. I mean, you can always set something up in front of VWAP or at a key level, but 91 was the bigger line in the sand that I had. And look, at the end of the day, when you sit down, I sit down here just after 7 o'clock or sometimes just before it, and you're rallying into a resistance level as I'm writing the note, and it kind of holds underneath. By the time you get to the open, it's already tanked a bit. And it's not as if Disney has a ton of pre-market volume before 8 o'clock, but yeah, I'm not really feeling very bullish on that one.
Yeah, Disney looking like it's just continuing the trend from prior earnings there, right? So I'm looking at this initial earnings on the year. We caught a little bit of a bid, trended up 123 highs. This is an hourly chart, and then earnings in May, strong flush, and then look, no real strength. Like look, consolidation, breakdown, consolidation, breakdown. So just stair stepping down. With every kind of consolidation breakdown. And then today we're getting a little bit more of the same where, yeah, yesterday, intraday, we had that news of them increasing some of their prices for streaming services. You get a little bit of a pop intraday, pulls back in, and then earnings report comes out. You try to push, 95s right there, and that selling comes right back in to test some of these lows. 85.72s are some of the lows from prior days, and then pre-market lows at 63.30. So taking a look a little bit further back, let's go to like a 3-hour chart here. Let's see where we're coming into, right? So we haven't really visited some of these prices if we get below some of those right here since November 2023, right? That some of these lows are 86s, but look, there's a lot of price action that kind of happened in this area. So it's not like we got space, we got a lot of space to the downside. Bit of a double top here, 85, 60s as well. So there's a lot of, how do you say, stuff in the way. You know, a lot of support and resistance in the way if we are going to continue to sell off there. So I do have eyes on it. I'm going to continue watching it. It is earnings day one. We are doing we're doing some RVol in the pre-market right there, 15 times relative volume with a strong downtrend. In 90s is the consolidation high off of this bounce here. So let's see what Disney will have in store. I was once told never short the mouse, but seems like this year the story's been a little bit different with the downtrend. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you can short the mouse at this point. I mean, it's a little bit late for that, I gotta say, because it hasn't been looking good. Make sure you listen to that analysis from Obi because he's seen some ish. I'm sorry. You don't even. It's a bit of an inside joke. I even just. Sorry.
Outside joke.
It's an outside joke. He's seen some ish.
Oh boy.
All right, let's go on to Rivian here. We got a few to get through still. Downside in a pretty big way here after the close yesterday. We get earnings from Rivian. This is the one I was trying to find right here. Revenue beats slightly beats. EPS, the miss though. I mean, everyone was kind of hoping, I think, for more details on this Volkswagen deal.
Yeah.
And the joint venture, something to be said of that. There really wasn't anything significant, nothing that hadn't been said prior. As Randy was mentioning, though, I mean, it's costs, it's production, it's timelines.
And they burned $1 billion in cash, Brendo, which actually helped them. This deal with Volkswagen actually helped them because it injected cash into their balance sheet there. So they're holding more cash at the moment. They burned through $1 billion in the quarter. As Brendo mentioned, a slight beat on revenue, but it was a wider than expected net loss. Let's talk about some of the details because, it's a bit concerning here. They're losing $32,705 per vehicle on average. Each one obviously is a little bit different. They're looking at redesigning the vehicles to make the cost of production a little bit cheaper. That's what the question I was asking with Randy. We haven't heard anything about the R2 or some of the upcoming models. Those were not mentioned. So more on those, I guess.
I mean, credit to Elon. He called this, going back a year or so ago for Rivian. So yeah, I mean, they got to cut costs. Pretty good recovery yesterday. We're right back to the lows though, essentially where we started the day on Tuesday.
Yeah, so and thank you for Randy for bringing his thoughts on Rivian on maybe a little bit of a longer term. I was asked in the chat, I did answer. I was asked in the chat if I was adding to Disney long term. So just for full disclosure, we do talk about like sometimes our personal, like not what we trade here, personal holdings. I got out of Disney a while ago and put it into Netflix. Now, when I was talking to Sean about this a couple of maybe, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, it was that I was just considering whether I wanted to get back into Disney because it seemed to be holding the 90 area pretty well. Well, all of a sudden, bad earnings. I'll probably wait a couple of days to make any kind of a decision. And if it doesn't hold, there's always the 2023 lows. That's $78 or something like that. For Rivian, I think it's in the middle. I don't want to diddle in the middle here. And if it does pop back into prior support, I'm thinking reversion trade. Like if it gets up to 14, breaks out and tries to get to this 14 quarter, or maybe yesterday's lows at 14.5, that's right in the zone for a reversion. So if it does that big of a bounce, great. Unless it's failing underneath those lows from 2 days ago, I don't know how much I'm going to love this one. So probably just going to be looking for a reversion trade, and then Rivian won't be in play for me at the open. There's so many things going to be out there with Shopify, Upstart, Tesla, Nvidia, AMD, potentially SMCI. We'll see what happens there. I don't know that Rivian's a 930 opportunity. I just maybe wait for a reversion up around that 1425 if it indeed can make a bit of a bounce. I'm not looking long off the open, but I'm not going to be sitting in some kind of short.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Neil. We are kind of selling off quite nicely in the pre-market, but again, this is just well within Monday's range, right? So we didn't have any sort of significant move, and again, the EPS and revenue, nothing too crazy either way. So let's take a quick look at a weekly chart and see where we're sitting here on Rivian. We know that it's been in a bit of a downtrend since the IPO. Talk about a swing short, oh boy. That was a good one. But yeah, coming into some of these prior week lows, right? So that's what I'm watching on Rivian here. So prior week low at 1296. We're trading right now in the pre-market at 1347. Bit of ways to go if we do continue this trend to the downside here. A little bit lower, base at 1030 here before we really got that volume coming in. Expanding into some of those highs there. You can see, let's go back to where some of that volume might have come in, and right there, I think this, what was this calendar? Probably deliveries or something like that. I don't remember quite.
That was the Volkswagen story.
Was it the Volkswagen story? Okay, so definitely some sort of catalyst that did bring it up, but we pretty much are pulling right back into some of those levels where that bid came through. $12 reference price right there of that close on that day right before the news comes out after hours. So going to be watching that 12 mark on Rivian today for sure.
All right, we'll wrap things up here with Airbnb. Tried to bounce there, got back above 112.50 there briefly, but heading southbound again. I was just reading through some of the analyst notes on this morning. Mostly neutral, it looks like. Susquehanna, there's Piper Sandler, there's Needham, all with notes this morning on Airbnb coming off their report after the close yesterday.
Yeah, it was interesting. As you mentioned, mixed report there. They missed analyst expectations when it came to earnings per share, but they slightly beat on revenue. Net income, sadly, though, declined 15%. However, their highest second quarter bookings ever this past quarter with 125.1 million nights and experiences. They did warn of moderating year-over-year demand in the United States, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And Brendo, they removed about 200,000 low-quality listings. So shrinking.
Good.
Yeah, it's not a bad look, but trying to make sure the quality on there is good.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I mean, 110, if you zoom out far enough, 110 could be a thing today, guys.
Yeah, but look, if you zoom out far enough, you can always find something. I would venture to say $104 as well. If you go all the way back to the May 2023 lows, if you go back to the October-November lows, you've got right here at 113, which is exactly what is failing right now. So it's going to be opening up SSR. There was a good rally, and then see what happened at that 113 level. That's that last low on the daily chart. So I think this is, when we say the over-under play, and what we generally mean by that, I'm pretty sure this is what Obi means when he says it as well, is above a certain number, I want to be bullish and not fighting it. If below a certain number, I think it's bearish to next support level, whether that's 110, 104. But this 113, you already even had an iceberg here at that level for a good 15, 20 minutes before a potential breakout. Randy just delivering. Oh, this must be the magic 8 ball. So yeah, I don't know, Mr. Westermeyer, if you're in the chat, we did get this. It looks like we have to pick up the Magic 8 Ball. They must have tried to deliver it, and then we have to go pick it up. Great handwriting here, but yeah, just the Rexall apparently. Although
That's right. That's like right there, no?
it's like right here.
Yeah.
I can probably crutch there at lunchtime. But thank you. We have a Magic 8 Ball, but then we have another custom one coming from one of our viewers. So thank you very much. It's really close, so hopefully I'll be able to go, even though I'm on crutches. It's all good. But Airbnb 113. I'm just looking over under there for this stock at the open. And remember, it is SSR. So if it breaks out from here, you could easily be retesting 120. SSR bounces can be very, very violent when a stock is short sell restricted. So just have your, spidey senses or have a stop whenever you trade. But the 113 is the obvious key level here, standing out like a sore thumb.
Neil, take a look at this. You know I like to look at the higher time frame charts.
Yes.
So prior day, we actually closed a little red on the year, right? Today, we're slamming year lows through those 120s down at 112. So the year has gone green to red on BNB here. So going back down to the weekly, let's take a quick look and see what those levels may hold for us. So yeah, 2023s, 104s, 105s, and this is the low that we're talking about, 113.75-ish. Let's see what that specifically is. 113.24, and we're trading just a point below that as of right now. Just underneath that prior support, we got the next little support that we had down here at 103.60s, 103.55 specifically on Airbnb. And when was that? That was in May of 2023. So those are two levels that we're just kind of near support and resistance that have shown up on the chart before. And you can see a little bit of volume coming in there as well. Strong selling week. That kind of bases off right there on top of those 103s. And then we push even higher. Strong downtrend that bases off into those 113s, and then we push higher. Let's see what this selling brings us today. Some of these lows, 81.91, Neil. I don't know if we're going to be able to get there, but let's see what Airbnb has in store for us. I don't know if I'm going to be staying too long in this one.
Yeah, like that's sort of the thing. Like underneath that level, you got to be a little bit cautious with it. But let's go back up to the desk, Sharif.
We're talking about earnings plays all week today, guys. Today we're going to talk about identifying the potential earnings plays through options. So if you're into that kind of thing, make sure to check that out with Adair and I on How to Trade at 11.
So just very quickly, a couple of things here. With 3 minutes to go, you do have some imbalance data just popping through. Nothing too big. I mean, the SQs there. Now, Nvidia just popped up for 500,000 to the buy side. The SQs 500,000 sell. Ford as a buy of 700,000. SunPower a sell of 400,000. That's only interesting because they're going bankrupt and they're being deleted from one of the indices today. So that could be interesting. TSM is a bit of a buy. Palantir is also a bit of a buy. Obviously, that's going to be Nvidia standing out, and Nvidia seems like it might want to break 108 right away. So Nvidia looks like it's tracking toward a 108 break. Tesla, which we did not necessarily talk about. I don't feel like I think I did. It's on my morning note this morning. 204, hasn't gotten to 204, but higher lows into a flat top break is what I see potentially here for Tesla through that 204. Apple's got one at 210. So just checking in on, and if you're wondering why I just raised my eyebrows, Upstart is already starting to bounce. I wanted to see this dip, try to hold this 29.25 area at the open here on Upstart. Similar look for Shopify, although Upstart's got the big short float there, Obi. So going to have our eyeballs on both those two. Nvidia making the break. Tesla now starting to come back in a little bit. There's a lot to watch this morning. You got Airbnb, Lyft or Uber, depending on which one you might want to be in. I think you want to keep, if you're trading a chip name or anything AI related, you're probably going to want to keep a close eye on SMCI. That's heading right back down into what is a higher low and pre-market support. Clearly, it's going to now open down SSR. If this can wick and hold the bottom, the bounce could be insane. Catching it, I don't know. because I've never actually seen SMCI, SSR, and then what the liquidity would look like on an SSR bounce. Like, it could just go $20 before you can even bat an eye, or maybe there's an opportunity to get into it. And if it loses the absolute bottom, put the hands back like Elvin on the Cosby Show and be like, I don't want any part of that long if it loses those bonds. Anything is possible, but I'm not trading a chip name without having a look on SMCI, because if it really starts to dump, then I don't know how much more I'm going to like that. Nvidia was a great long multiple times yesterday, but if SMCI goes from 13% down to like 15 and then 20, I'm not going to care about how I feel necessarily about Nvidia. I'm going to be very, very cautious with that. And I still like an AMD 134 potential short here. Obi?
Yes, sir.
Hopefully the lady in red didn't pick that outfit because she's predicting it's going to be a red day, although there's always fun stuff to trade there, Adara, up or down. Let's get this party started in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ring it.
All right.
Party is started, and not crazy action yet.
Nothing too crazy
on SMCI. So nothing crazy happening on SMCI. AMD went right to that 134. You've got to be kidding me. As I'm looking at SMCI and Nvidia, AMD went right to $134 and failed it right away. Just right into yesterday afternoon high and pulling back in. Okay, so it's pretty strong into this. You got a local high at the quarter mark. Remember, above that price, I think above the quarters, this could easily be a breakout. So watch out here for AMD. I said we'd take a shot at it, but if this breaks the quarters, this is a go. This is kind of go in the other direction. What the heck is SMCI doing? All right, I don't want to jump short to long, but this is sort of looking pretty strong here on, I should have just immediately jumped short to long. I was staring at Nvidia for 108, and at the same time, that reversal just took place in AMD. Let's quickly go over to Nvidia. That's still potentially available at the 108 level. AMD starting to go. Upstart's pulling back in, still going to look for a dip buy in Upstart. We're almost there. And here comes Nvidia at that 108 level. Oh, Upstart bouncing off 29. That's another one we don't want to try to grab. So let's try to grab Upstart 129. Nvidia's through that 108 level. AMD's trying to pull back to that 114. Might lose the 3/4 as well there. And Tesla not doing anything.
Yes, sir. So a little bit of a push up here on Shopify. I said I would go shopping a little bit, and it seems like it is working out for now. 65s pushing up on Shopify here. So I do have to kind of pull up some multi-time frames here to kind of define some of these levels. We are showing some crazy strength. Oh boy. Neil, why don't I have enough? The question that I ask myself multiple times over and over again.
Got it.
And I was like, that push into 65 looking interesting, looking nice, and that strength coming right back in. 66 is incoming right now, about 200 lots on the ask. Can we get a little bit of a push? Thank you very much. I will add through that. 66 is holding as of right now. Let's see, do we get an aggressive pullback, or do we continue this strength right off of the open? We talk about a little bit of break in downtrend. Multi-day downtrend here was happening on Shopify, and then we gap up and push. So a little bit of pressure, buying pressure. Talk about reversion on a higher time frame. I like that.
Oh boy.
And we are pushing higher and higher. 66.50s, Neil, 66.60s. Can we get a little bit higher? Can we get through 67s? I like that. Maybe we get to 69s? I might have to flip over for that one. Let's see if we can push into the 67s right now. 66.90s right now.
Yeah, you did.
67s. Can we get through you? It's coming in potentially. A little bit of deeps, a little bit of mid prints right here. 66.90s and 80s. A little bit of a struggle. So a little distinct difference there with that bid kind of stepping down. So let's see if we get a continuation. Does this buying pressure continue into the push?
Is Warren selling
call?
Apple so that he can get into Shopify?
Maybe, I don't know. 67's broke. Let's see how far we get off the 67.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. I see you in the chat, the only 4.0. Yeah, pause. That's okay. Everything that was said was completely clean. I stand by it all. No, it is what it is. Great one looking over there. Very quickly on NVIDIA. Upstart broke the high just now, but NVIDIA failed the 108 break. Broke and then failed underneath. This is the concern with this SMCI debacle is that you could have everything start to churn. So SMCI doesn't break out the top. Sorry about there you go. Doesn't break out the top and pulling back in. And Nvidia loses that 108 and suddenly looks trend down. So I like the breakout, but I'm not willing to stay with it forever. This is starting to look very, very weak. Tesla has not done a break of 204. It is trending to the upside for now. I went Upstart over Shopify, and looks like we should have stuck with Shopify. Because Shop's the one that's
I got out, got back in, but
oh, you're already out?
I got out when it broke back below 67s, but that bid stepped right back up. So I was like, all right, I'll take much less through 67 again. 67s though, a little bit of a struggle. High a day right now, 67.60. Let's see if we can push back up there. We talk about some of those prior levels here. We're coming into an anchored from earlier this year. Earnings anchored, so I do want to be a little bit more patient. That was some massive strength right off of the open. Pre-market high break was pretty nice through the 64.80s right there. So you can see, I guess we can go down a little bit there. I gotta fix some of these wicks, but you can see I just took the entry through that pre-market high. With that confluence, we dipped down. We actually dipped down, and I was looking away, and I was like, I'm looking for those pre-market lows. We didn't even get there. We get to a low, opening range low right now is what, 63.60s? So yeah, we got just to 63.60s and then rebid quite aggressively right back through 64. So I was like, all right, well, you know what? If that's going to be the case, I do want to kind of participate in that. What's going on, Adara?
Another earnings name to be aware of that we didn't talk about because we had so many is Fortinet. They are near high of days right now, FTNT. And what a report. We beat here for Q2 sales and earnings per share, and their guidance was higher than expected across the board for Q3 and for fiscal 2024. So good look for FTNT, guys.
Fortinet, I'm going to get to Lumen in a quick second, but two updates. One, Upstart does not go. They looked very similar, but they were not the same. Upstart back underneath, VWAP in here. You can hardly see it, but when it lost that support, I got out. If it's losing VWAP, then I'm losing it as well. But Shopify, which is always in, that's starting to pull back into VWAP and looking a little bit nasty. I wanted to get to Lumen because Lumen lost the bid and then immediately regained it above $7. So I think there was a liquidity grab on Lumen both ways. Up top, and then down low here, a bit of a liquidity grab. If this can hold VWAP, break it back out, Lumen has been doing some very strange things, and most of them have been bullish the last couple of days. Want to give it a chance. So going to go right back over to Nvidia. The breakout didn't work. Currently putting in a lower high. I got to get rid of this wick. Sorry about that, guys. To zoom way in. I don't want to lose a pre-market action. But you're starting to look a little bit stronger off of VWAP on this name. Tesla still at 03. It hasn't broken 204. SMCI SMCI is now losing the bid. It hasn't broken the absolute bottom in the pre-market, but it has broken some support here. So some caution to re-entering any long positions in some of those chips. But now nice little bounce off the lows for SMCI. Okay, so bouncing off the lows, I can go back to Nvidia. I want to see it hold that 108 again. Adara?
We mentioned this story briefly earlier, but what a pop off the open here for Palantir, PLTR. Currently near high of days, up more than 3.5%, announcing an AI and digitization partnership with Wendy's. So Palantir, day 2 earnings, and this little Wendy's catalyst, guys.
That's kind of unfair. Like, I looked at that and was like, oh, continuation play, maybe a 27.5 break. And then it didn't go on that news. And I was like, okay, maybe it's not that big of a deal, and I'm overreacting to it. But now it's going. Obviously, congratulations if you got it. So here is Nvidia trying to pull back into VWAP. Breakout, no good. That's a stop there. And we'll look to see if we can catch VWAP. I like the trend in the market. I like the fact that SMCI was able to catch a bit of a bid. But I don't want to get too far away from VWAP in here. Tesla is still tracking toward 204. So I do have that one up. You look, it's like a 3-day high over there on Tesla that is trying to break out. I can see it start to hold. VWAP is another one that I was bullish on here today. Haven't seen anything over in Rivian just yet. So that must mean it didn't actually break. Wow, it went right to 14 without breaking it. Well, that was a good idea to fade it on a pop, but that's already happened. Now we just have to look for some kind of other short on Rivian. Right to 14 even, and it fell down.
Yeah, so a little bit of a pullback here off of those 67 highs. We traded about a point lower down into 65. 66 is holding as of right now, and I told Neil, I was like, yeah, maybe every time it does do some dipping, it gets a little bit bought here. But again, we're hovering above VWAP. VWAP at 65.17. 66 is 30s trading as of right now. Let's see if that bid can kind of catch right back in, or we trade lower for a little bit of a pullback here off of that strength. That strength was absolutely crazy right off of the open. 64s to 67s. Oh boy, was that some momentum right there. And now we're taking a little bit of a breather here back to the downside. But something I do want to note, Neil, the futures past 18 halves. That's aggressively strong to the upside there.
And still going. Okay, we're going to have to follow along here. I'm going to go for that previous pre-market top there on, it's not Shopify, because that's starting to come back in, but just missed the dip here. Wow, I just missed that dip on Nvidia by a matter of cents. So we swing and miss at that bid in front of VWAP, but I still think we're going to pick it up. I still think we have a chance at it. Shop did not hold that 65. There was a big seller there at 10s, by the way, on Shopify that just got chewed up. Let's see if it can rebound.
Right back
but VWAP starting to bounce on that name. Actually, I have it underneath VWAP.
Market highs as well.
I have VWAP bouncing here on Nvidia. That's a big one. But SMCI is still losing it to the downside. And the market is headed up. So I think there's still some strength maybe in Nvidia. The other name that we liked short that we never got was Airbnb underneath 113. That's at VWAP. Look at what it did at 113. You gotta be kidding me. So Rivian doesn't quite get to 14 quarter. Airbnb goes right to 13, fails it twice, and now fails underneath 12. So if we're just going to be trend down, VWAP is going to have to be a thing for Airbnb. I don't think we're going to get a second crack at Rivian. All right, now we've got VWAP on Nvidia. Let's see if we can get into Airbnb off a lower high. So it's going to have to be a tight stop. Do not want to hold it like a dollar against. I think that's a bit of a recipe for disaster. So if I can get a VWAP fill in there, we'll grab it. Market's still looking relatively strong. I feel like there's Microsoft and Meta and maybe Apple are doing some heavy lifting in here because everything I'm looking at is heading right back in and pulling back, and the market's at the highs.
Yeah, that 18.5, kind of a little bit of a wick action on top of that 18.5. Right now, watching this Shopify, looking like a little bit of a held offer at 65 halves. Every time it kind of pushes up into it, a 65 halves kind of holds. Maybe looking a little iced here, but a little bit of a sandwich between the 65 halves and VWAP at 65.20, 65.19 I have. So let's see who wins the battle here. Is it buyers or sellers? I have no idea, but I am kind of just watching the 65 area on top of that VWAP. And again, a little bit of pre-market high as well on top of this area after we've pulled back quite nicely on Shopify. So let's see if some of that strength kind of comes back in. What's going on, Adara?
Small cap on watch here. We have ADTX Addicts near high of day here, up more than 50%. This company's subsidiary, Pure Santa, submitting a proposal here for this clinical trial endpoints research award with regards to this congressionally directed medical research program. Has to do with the Department of Defense. So this company's subsidiary pushing ADTX to the upside, guys.
All right, we'll have a look at that one in a quick little second. Okay, SMCI was just breaking down, and now look, wow, this is clearly, now we know what an SSR bounce looks like on SMCI. And it looks like this. And this was not that grabbable. It just retook 525, and now it's like 535 to the up. It's absolutely flying to the upside. Nvidia is trying to press back into the 108 level. Excuse me, I'm long Nvidia, but I mean, SMCI is doing absolutely insane things. I hope somebody grabbed that bid. That was an epic bounce here. Wicks the bottom at 520, higher low at 522. Once it got back through 525, exploding to the upside is SMCI. I really hope someone caught that. But the spread, challenging would be the best, I would say, at executing on that name. So Nvidia is trying to claw back to the 108 level. I never got Airbnb, so that must mean it's coming down. SMCI is going to rip some faces off here. If we can take the high on Nvidia, I'm not looking for a high break. I'd probably go for another dip by some kind of a higher low. Wow, SMCI. Sometimes you have to adjust a plan of action if you don't get the bottom. this doesn't feel like a stock that I would ever want to punch through the high of the day. Not with the way the spread looked when it was down here. So let's see how it reacts to this high and see if we can't get some kind of a VWAP dip. Just looking for some kind of a long entry that makes sense here on SMCI. Wow.
Tesla 200 says Sharif. So that might be something. But I'm still kind of staring this Shopify down back above 66s. So that VWAP bounce came in quite nicely. So it seems like some of those pre-market high levels confluence with that VWAP are holding. Opening price 64.50s, trading above that right now. 67.60s is the high. We're only about a point away from that, and we did pull back significantly. So I'm curious to know, are we going to put some shorts offside through those highs? We're only about a point away. This thing is moving around nicely here, Neil. I'm watching Lyft as well. Lyft didn't really quite get through that 9. There was some size on 9. I was watching that, very interested in that. We talked about that multi-week, multi-frame level breakdown, and that never really came in. We did more of like a wick dance off of that 9, failure to fall through below 9, and holding as of right now. So maybe that one, I'll have to be a little bit more patient for that one. Let's see if those 67s can come right back in here on Shopify as of right now. Again, 67.60s is the high of day. VWAP at 65.29. We're trading, chopping in the middle. Here we talk about some of that sandwich that happened, and that sandwich kind of blew off the top bun there.
Blew off the top bun. Now that's a new one. I've never heard that one before, but I like it. Look, man, as long as it goes up, it doesn't matter. You can say whatever pun you want, and I'll be happy with it. Lumen, so very quickly, SMCI, I'm kind of looking for that to settle down for another opportunity. It might be doing so on the way back in. Airbnb popped into VWAP, so I was able to grab that just in front of the 112 level, 112 quarters resistance. So Lumen just got to what was the trend before the market opened and is dipping back in. I want to look for it to hold 7 and VWAP. As mentioned, Airbnb got to VWAP. There it is, kind of wicked the same level. So wicked it like 3 times on a lower high. Struggling at the $0.50 here, so maybe I should be on the front side of the $0.50 and not the back side of the $0.50. A lot of times you'll see that. It's like, I mean, if there's buyers in front of 111.50, then why am I sitting on the other end? I should try to get the fill on top of 50 at like 52 instead of offering or bidding at 47. It's 5 cents difference. One of them's on the other side of a theoretical support level. I want to see 111 get filled here if we can. Nvidia is still looking okay. It's up 50 pennies, but it's holding underneath that 108 level. And then the aforementioned SMCI heads right into resistance. Oops. Right up to 540, right back into 526. So let's see if it does set up another bounce play here on SMCI, maybe off the 525 level. This stock is absolutely insane, Obi. It's flying around. Just another note, Rivian is back underneath that $14 level. If that pops in, stop would be at $14.25.
So some of this, some interesting action happening right here underneath that 67 mark. As we build up into some of those levels there, like I said, some of these dips, they keep on getting bought up. For now on Shopify, let's see if we can get through that 67, trading at 66.80s right now. So again, don't have enough on this ticker as of right now, but it seems like the pressure definitely there. A lot of volatility on this name as of right now. Again, earnings day one doing about 7 times the relative volume on Shopify. 66 halves. Oh boy, might be in a little bit of trouble here when it comes to those shorts. Only about a point away. 9 coming in on the Lyft as well. So I've got to keep a closer eye on that one.
You know, Lyft is a nasty one. We talked about Rivian, Lyft, Airbnb were looking weak. Lyft never got into those highs, whereas you had some opportunities elsewhere. Lyft is absolutely breaking down here. I did not gotten filled on Rivian just yet. It did that wick right into 14.20, pull back in. Need to see a lower high, maybe a head and shoulders. The first short was probably the best one, so rushing into it when it's an upward trend doesn't make a lot of sense. And Rivian Millionaire, let's not talk about Rivian. Uber continuation is now blowing through the top. So, okay, now Nvidia's through that 108 level. Finally, it's gotten through 108. Just quickly on Uber, if it breaks, it's like $70 is the big one on Uber. So here comes Nvidia, finally through that 108 level. Was biding its time. you don't want a daily chart, was biding its time, but look at the sellers, right back in here at 108.30. So it's holding on to VWAP. If we lose this 108 again, I'm going to get out and just rebuy it at that 107.5. Oh, by the way, Upstart's back through 30 bucks. Now the shorts are in trouble. I'm going to take another swing at Upstart, but it did not hold on to that 29.5 bid, and now it is absolutely holding.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these names, man. Some of these missed opportunities. Sure, we're in a Shopify long, and that's working out for us. Being a little bit nimble is, again, something I keep saying I got to work on, and I am doing it right now. Being a little bit nimble as we pull back a little bit, push back in. But take a look at CrowdStrike, man. CrowdStrike continuation off of that dip. So situational change a couple of days ago with that DAL news, consolidates yesterday, and today straight to the upside. 243 halves is the high as of right now. And Uber, we were talking about Uber continuation. Take a look at that, 66 prior day high break. We're trading at 67.40. So strong earnings, closes near high a day. Not only that, it tells you that there might be a bid, because when the whole market tanks, it does its own thing and continues to close near the highs. So I'm like, oh boy, all right, cool. Maybe that one for continuation. But you know what? Shopify was a little bit more shinier for me, and it's coming right back into these 66s after attempting a push through that 67. So you know what? I'm going to be gone from this one for now. And if it comes back up into, if it comes back down into VWAP and holds nicely, 65.40s I have here. Maybe time to get back involved with that one. But oh boy, look at that! Every time it does get sold off, that dip gets bought up very aggressively. Okay, we're coming right back into 66 halves as of right now. So a little bit of a chip chop action happening here on top of these 66s above VWAP. I'm going to take my hands off of this for now. Let's see if we can kind of break through those highs. If we're going to chop around aggressively between VWAP and high a day there, I don't necessarily want to be participating as aggressively. Again, can be. I guess those are some fast scalps to take. That's what I'll say. I need to be focused 100% on those. What's going on, Adara?
This part of the show is brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Tired of being late to the trade? Always playing catch up in the market? Missing out on the big moves because you're too slow to the news? Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else. Pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving and join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? Visit benzinga.com/pro and get a free 14-day trial.
Thank you very much, Adair. I was just asked what the levels are on SMCI. I don't know that we can approach SMCI that way. So all I'm going to show you is these are where it's put in higher lows. Here and here. And if that's some kind of a usable trend, then I think there might be a trade. If VWAP ends up bouncing, then the 530 is where this would intersect. That's about it. Like, I mean, round numbers, sure, 520 held. You can certainly see there's some sellers at the 540s, but it's in an upward trend on SSR stock. So that's the best I can do for you on that. You're inside the range of the day. You haven't really broken out of anything. AMD's going ham right now. Nvidia just bounced off of VWAP. It's in an upward trend, and I bought the dip on it, but it's not nearly as strong as AMD. And remember, SMCI is probably going to be the most volatile out of the entire group. So a bit of a gap up on Nvidia, and then not nearly the strength of AMD or that last move in SMCI. Just very quickly, Upstart, I'm going to show you over here while this is trying to hold VWAP. Upstart's trying to break out the top here. So if it does go, it's up 27%, 33% short float. VWAP bounce or a breakout through the high is next, I think, on UPST. And thank goodness we didn't actually get into Rivian, because Rivian now blowing through the top.
Yes, sir. So I'm watching. I got my basket of in-play names kind of on watch here. So again, like I mentioned earlier today, I got home and I knocked out last night. So barely any prep was done. But you know what? It's perfectly fine. I did most of that prep. Well, not all of it, but more efficient and effective prep this morning, where I was like, all right, what are the top ideas? What looks the best? You're in a situation where maybe you're a little backed into a corner in a sense, metaphorically speaking. So what is the best of the best that you can potentially see to trade, and I picked Shopify for that one, just based off of what the chart was looking like and how the earnings reacted. And as of right now, what I have on watch, Shopify, Lyft, CVS, Bank of America, a little bit of a bigger picture play. BAC is still continuing to bid up. Interesting stuff. FTNT pushing up as well. Nice little continuation on earnings day one. That strength coming in. Uber day two, CrowdStrike, and Airbnb. Airbnb is still trading within its opening range. So interesting action there across the board. So those are kind of the top names there. But let me know in the chat what you guys are trading today. Always down to reassess and come up with new ideas intraday. What's up, Adara?
DIS on watch here, and not just because of their earnings this morning. We also just have coming out here through Benzinga, so on news and also circulating on social media, that Disney has disclosed a $1.5 billion stake in Epic Games. That's roughly 8% ownership of Epic Games. So just keep an eye on DIS with regards to this $1.5 billion Epic Games stake, guys.
All right. Well, I wasn't very bullish on Disney in the first place, but I just threw in the chat. I didn't mean to put it in all caps. My caps lock was on. I've just taken it off. Lost the bid here on Nvidia. So initial break didn't work. Bought off VWAP did. Load into VWAP did not work. And now you're starting to flush into the downside. So whatever is going on, it's Nvidia weak, AMD strong. SMCI is now testing the bottom end of this range. Upstart did break out that high. It tried to get to the 31 level. We'll see if it can actually get to 31. But if SMCI were to lose this trend, I think that would look a little bit nasty. The market is starting to pull back off of those highs here, OB, as you can probably see. But SMCI,
sir.
I mean, this is just essentially a couple of higher lows. That's all it really is. The big SSR bounce really was down here when it wicked 520, and you had the 522. Want to see if it has some continuation in it. Remember, it was pretty bad margins for them. It's not like it was a good report. Wow, that is a huge breakdown through that support level. Doesn't even try to hold the 532. This is why I'm not sitting on any bids here. I need to see it hold a level and then try something. I'm not going to sit on the bid when it comes to SMCI.
Yeah, so I pulled up Uber here because I'm like, okay, well, Uber is definitely continuing a little bit of yesterday's action. 65, bit of a lick grab all the way up into 67s, 67.8s, so almost 68s happening here on Uber. So I'm just like, all right, cool. If this is going to continue, do the same thing as yesterday, or maybe the extension reverts. I have no idea, but I'm waiting. I'm watching. Earnings day two, definitely good. But again, I'm going to be a little patient. VWAP is still holding 65 halves on Shopify, so that's definitely interesting. But take a look at this. I pulled it up on the 1 minute chart here. If we can move a little bit left on the screen there. Wow, take a look at that. That bid off of VWAP coming in real strong right there. So I did. So this is what I'm talking about. So these were my executions off the morning. So look at that consolidation right off of right in the pre-market, right going into the open, and I'm like, all right, dips down to 64s. Bids right back up. I'm taking that consolidation break high long, adding on the 66s, adding on 67. Can't really get through. Goes to 67 halves, comes right back in. So I'm like, all right, cool. Get out of everything. Get much less on the 67. Sure, I hold it against me, but again, managing the risk with sizing. 67s, I buy 66s again. VWAP is the actual place I really like. Comes into VWAP, holds 65, get a lot more on that VWAP hold, pretty much double up for a pushback through. Can't really get through 67s that time around, but take a look at this. Those VWAP bidders still holding. VWAP holds and pushes off of the open 64s, pulls back into 65 change, holds and pushes right back in. And then the third time, pulls back into 65 halves, much cleaner test as maybe potentially some of those bidders are firming up for a push back into 67s as of right now. 66. This bid off of 65 halves was aggressive back into the 66 halves. But take a look at that. The futures, the NASDAQ especially is pulling back. The ES not so much as of right now. But Uber still holding some of those highs. Fortinet still going. What's going on, Neil?
This didn't take very long, but in the time you were just mentioning that, we've always talked about with your spidey senses, or if you see something that doesn't look right, then it ain't right. So that trend that I was talking about, SMCI, so it blows through it, regains the bid here on a break of 534, right? So it flushes underneath that little trend line, breaks back above it at a 534. I'm like, okay, get the long off 534. It goes right into the first obvious resistance spot, which is right here at 539. Gets right up there, and immediately the sellers, I'm like, join them. That ain't right. Let's just jump out of this. The way that it went up here and the way that it went up here was distinctly different from the way that it went up the third time through. That was enough for me to get out of it. Went from 34 right into 38.5, but I don't know that I like that setup of the same way that we did down here when we missed it. So it did go through and run some stops on that trend line, but a quick scalp trade, just because that's how it felt to me at the time. I'm only in upstart, but now all of a sudden Rivian is setting up. I'm going to do this because I have the trend line drawn on Rivian. Rivian got to that 14 quarter, successive higher lows. I'm looking mean reversion on this. So if it loses 14.20, I'm looking for a reversion back into VWAP on Rivian. There might be another scalp trade on SMCI, but here essentially I was punching through 34 to stop it out just underneath like 30. It was like 32.5 where the stop was, for about $1.50 worth of risk. I'll take it that it gave the $4, but it didn't feel right up at that first resistance. Let's go to Adara, 10 o'clock. What's happening now?
Yo, check out Apple. Apple's about to break that gap down high from Monday.
210.
S&P 500 trying to push back into Friday's levels and what's been a pretty strong day for the market so far. The NASDAQ, though, pulling back a little bit while the S&P 500 currently looking to push higher here on this 15-minute chart. Bit of a lighter day and week in general in terms of economic data, though. Watch out at 3 p.m. when we get the consumer credit change for the month of June. Lots of day two earnings names on the move with both Uber and Palantir on watch. But we also have quite a few day one earnings plays to talk about, including Rivian. This one, in case you missed it, they did have a larger than expected loss per share for Q2, but they beat on sales. They also announced that their joint venture with Volkswagen will be coming to an end within Q4 2024. So RIVN trying to recover pretty nicely here. We also have Lyft, LYFT. The day after Uber reports, we get Lyft here. They beat for GAAP earnings per share and for sales, but their Q3 gross bookings estimate was a bit lower than analysts were looking for. So this one down more than 10% today. Last but not least, Disney, DIS. In addition to earnings where they did beat across the board, they also disclosed through a regulatory filing an 8% stake in Epic Games. That came out after the earnings report. We also as well had some comments from the CFO and CEO with regards to park attendance maybe being an issue and some work being done on their streaming recommendations. So DIS on watch as it tries to bounce here, guys.
Disney. Well, maybe I should have. I was asked if I was going to buy some in my long-term account. Didn't. Maybe we should. I don't know. We'll see after the fact. Just quickly over to Upstart. I still have my eyeballs on SMCI for another potential opportunity. It's starting to go again, so we might have gotten out a bit early that one, but it didn't smell right. Upstart got to 31. Here, we got the break of the local high, so it's still looking like it wants to go higher and higher, but the top is 32.5. So next stop, potentially 31.5, and 32.5 would be top. SMCI, which I just mentioned a second ago, didn't look as strong. It's trying to bounce again, but again, it kind of gets to that same level and sells off a little bit. Not nearly as parabolically strong like it was before. The real big bounces might have already happened in this, and then you got to try scalping that stock, which is obviously new territory for all of us. Shout out to Apple for being the better breakout.
Yep.
Tesla 204 obviously never happened. Apple 210 clearly did happen, and now Apple is off to the races. So congratulations to anybody. Right, that key sucks. But congratulations to anyone that has Apple. This is what's keeping the market abreast. You're not nearly seeing the strength that I think you want to in some of the chip names as I keep looking up at SMCI 1 to break those tops. Rivian has now held underneath that trend line, so I'm going to look for that reversion short. But if we're going to get into an Apple trend after that break, got to look for some kind of a dip and higher low to work with. So Upstart just broke 31. That's now 50 pennies in the money. The 31.5 zone is going to be the next stop. It doesn't matter how much it's in the money. I just see resistance at 31.5.
Yeah, so I looked over at Neil and I was like, yeah, Apple is going for some key levels. Okay, wow, look at that volt. Damn. Okay, so I was like, okay, 67s are pushing back up on Shopify, 67 and change test, and look at that, slams down almost a point, back down to 66, below 66.50, so a little bit of a chop and churn. Let's see if, I missed the chance here, the clean hold of VWAP Let's see if any of these pullbacks continue to get bought up above VWAP. Does it come down into VWAP? VWAP at 65, 69 right now on Shopify. But yeah, no, that Apple push, very, very interesting. Look, prior day high double top at that 210. Oh boy, let's see how clean that breakout was through that 210. That 210 double top from yesterday, hella clean. Comes in all day trend off of the dip buy off of the morning.
I like that.
Right? Look at that. 210s, clean test, comes back in, pulls back into 208s, pulls right back up. Look at that flat top at 210. So definitely some resistance happening there at that 210, pulls back into the close. Coming into today, straight through, dip down into some of those closing prices from yesterday. We are continuing some of this move, but again, take a look at the DAC right here, 18 thou to 18 fives, so a 500-point push on the DAC, and we're getting a break of prior day highs as well. So what I'm watching now, we saw what happened on Monday, and a little bit of a gap down that we had coming in.
A little bit.
Coming in over the weekend there. What are those highs is the question that I'm asking now. 213 half. So we're trading at 212s as of right now. So does this strength continue? We do have some support from prior week here at 212.35. So 212.35s. So we're kind of holding some of those levels as of right now. A bit of a sandwich there. Let's see who wins. Does this bid continue? Do the longs kind of make it through some of those levels there? Does the bid get above 213 halves right here? Monday's day high, and then Friday's close in and around 220s. Oh boy, are we going to get a serious move like that? I have no idea. What is the VIX up to? That's another question that I'm asking here. VIX 22 halves, so nice little bleed off. We were talking about, Neil, that reference price from Friday that we pushed off of 23.45s, and take a look at this. This is why I got to keep a closer eye on the VIX. Yesterday, we do a little bit of a wait, no, this was this morning, not yesterday. We did a little bit of a push, but yeah, look at that. It comes in right into that 23 halves, that reference point, and then the VIX dumps down to 22s off of that 23 halves. So definitely got to keep an eye on the VIX during spicy times like this, as it can provide as a good indicator to kind of make some trading decisions. Now, that's just for me. That's just what I like to use. It could be right, it could be wrong for you, but that's something that I've found has definitely confluenced with my decision making over time there. Apple with a bit of a pullback coming off of that 213, so some of that prior week support potentially turning into resistance. Let's see if this strong trend off of the open breaks down. But again, it is Apple. It is one of the market leaders. Got to have some confluence with the DAC and the ES as well. Coming in, this Shopify is actually holding down below an anchored VWAP. I got it. You know what? I'll show you.
Underneath anchored.
Underneath it, it's holding exact. So that 67 half test that came in was exactly that anchored area, and we slammed right down. So talking about sandwiches, we are in a bit of a VWAP sandwich. Anchored VWAP from early on this year versus intraday VWAP. On the day today. So let me pull up that chart, and let's do some charting together here so I can show you what I'm looking at on Shopify. So by charting, I just mean throwing up a line on the chart, and that line is going to be anchored. So let's go quickly to, let's go to a 3 hour right here. Click on what is this? So earlier on this year. So off of this high right here, I think that's where we're coming into. I got to look at my other chart here as well. Some of my other charts, my main charts, have a lot more lines, a lot more spaghetti on the chart, so they can get a little bit confusing as well. So let me just put this up right here. So I think this was the okay. We'll just go from there, right there. So
don't get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, don't get lost in the sauce. Definitely a good one there. So right here, boom. So look at that. Came right into that anchored from earlier this year. Let me go down to a 15 minutes so we can see it a little bit better there. So right there. So okay, so 67.20. So yeah, right there, came right into it. I think I might have placed it a little one bar too late or one bar too forward. But again, on my other charts, I have it just here at the wick. And then we are holding and pushing up back towards some of those day highs. 67.60s, we're trading at 67.20s. But got to be careful here as the fluctuations on this ticker 50 pennies to the upside, 50 pennies to the downside. So if you are, I think, this is me more talking to myself. If I'm trying to trade this, I have to keep that in mind and factor that into my risk assessment there as well. Got to be ready to kind of catch a bit of a sell or a bid of 50 pennies either way if I'm going to be sizing into this. So it can't be sizing in too aggressively, too fast. Got to be a little bit of a sniper on this one. 67.30s incoming.
I think that applies to all trades. There are very few trades that you don't actually have to be a sniper for. Like, just in terms of like price matters, right? Like no matter what you're trading, when you're long-term investing and you're going to hold something for 50 years or whatever, I mean, some people 50 years, 30, whatever it might be, price is going to matter a little bit. But price matters a heck of a lot when it comes to risk to reward. So just very quickly, you'll see I'm in that Rivian. It broke the trend that was in the steep upward trend broke. I didn't get it on the way down here. Watched it make a lower high. Then once it made the lower high and broke the bottom, that confirmed like these couple lower highs. So shorted that pop, scalps them out for 8 pennies. Now looking for it to hold this trend again. If it's above 25, I feel like it's gotten away. Looking for a VWAP retracement there. Oh, now Upstart is blown through. Never mind. Okay, just Upstart blew all the way. It's now going to 32. So I'm not in that Upstart long. It looks like it didn't have any problems with that 31.5. 33% now up on Upstart. Got to find a way to get back into that trend. Forget about VWAP. That's so far away now at $30. Might look at the 31 level. So watching this Rivian that we're in, and we'll see what happens with that Upstart if we can get back. And I thought we would get some kind of an opportunity on Apple, dipping maybe like 211. It looks like 212 is held. Apple's still in a very decent upward trend. Here, Apple. Watch out for that SMCI. I don't know that this looks that great for a long anymore. We had the one shot at the long, and it just did not want to follow through into the 40s. It doesn't look as strong as it did. I don't know if I see a long in SMCI anymore. We're going to have to look elsewhere. It is what it is. Like, you can't really fight it. Upstart now at 32. You got to be kidding me. All right. Don't want to FOMO that one, but we might have missed an opportunity there in Upstart. And I got to stop looking at SMCI. It's not the trade that I thought it was going to be on that upward trend. Just can't seem to get back into those highs. Going to try to focus on Apple. We're into Rivian here. I want to note Intel's looking relatively weak. If the futures turn around, I might go back to shorting that. Just feel like that's a short till it isn't. And we keep talking about this, but look at Intel. As the market trends higher, like what are we even doing, Intel? Every single pop has been shortable. Not even the VWAP, just the same trend. I mean, come on. Unbelievable.
Yeah, a little bit of a pop and drop here on the Shopify. Watching some of these markets as well. Apple kind of back up towards some of those levels as well. So yeah, we did bid through that day high there and came right back in towards that 67. Like I said, bit of a strong mover here on Shopify. I like that. Let's see if we can kind of come back in towards VWAP. VWAP is where some of those buyers really are, and that failure to follow through of day high through that 67.60s. It could still very well come in. Like I said, 50 pennies to the upside. We'll be right back there on Shopify. 67's coming in. Let's see if we take a little bit of a breather here. Back down into 66s. Failure to follow through. I like that push. But again, no real sign of potential continuation as of right now. But that could come in real quickly with the way this ticker is moving around on the day today. 212's trading on Apple, still holding well within trend. This is a 9 moving average, or it might be an 8. But it is an EMA here, and look at how cleanly we are holding here on Apple, just on the other side here. I think my chart is zoomed into the wrong one here. So this is the Shopify happening as of right now, but Apple is the one I'm talking about here. Yeah, okay, cool. So Apple coming right back in. So look at that beautiful hold of the moving average. Oh boy, as the futures hold that 18.5, right? So looking nice on the Apple hold. Let's see that wind up. Let's see how far we get on Apple today.
Yeah, it's still looking pretty strong there, but as we mentioned in some other ones, like we got away from Nvidia when it could not hold on to 107.20. Now this looks a little trend to the downside. I'm just going to quickly double check one chip name that we didn't mention. And big shout out to Brendan for mentioning, reminding everybody, like Micron with a buyback did this. it's just hugging VWAP, and it's lost all semblance of strength and is just sitting here on VWAP. Now, I'm not saying this is it's not an obvious flat bottom break, but if we were to revert here, it's a lower high. I see other chip names not looking as strong. Underneath that consolidation would look a little bit intensive for me. Rivian, we got the one scalp trade. It then broke out the top. So now, we talked about this yesterday with, it wasn't Palantir, it was PayPal, right? PayPal had a bit of a trend reversal on a steep move, but once it took out, and for me, not the high of the day, like the lower high, once that's gone, I never found a place that I wanted to add more, just never really set up, and then it broke out that higher low. So just got to be able to get out of Dodge, man. Like take the hit, move on to the next trade. Hopefully it's Apple. I'd like to be able to join that trend. The 210 was a huge breakout. I won't lie to you guys. We try not to. There's two things that were setting up for a flat top break. Let me go to the 15-minute. One of them was Tesla here at 204. The other one was Apple here at that. 210 was kind of a lower high, but that was that double top from yesterday. I chose Tesla thinking it would look more clean with the 3-day high instead of Apple. Unfortunately, Apple's the one that went, and now all of a sudden, Apple could be taking out the next level up and filling in the entirety of the gap. I'd like to get in before it gets there. Apple's still trending pretty decently to the upside. And if you're wondering about SMCI, that's tracking right back into the low of the day. That loses 520. It could get nasty for SMCI. The market's this strong, and this wants to lose the bid. That would get pretty nasty. So Apple holding this higher low, 211.18. Looks like the 212 is looking pretty solid. Intel just got the VWAP. So I talk mess about Intel, and it punishes me 7 cents by breaking VWAP.
Is Intel continuing to sell off? Do we still?
No, it just bounced above VWAP here.
Oh, okay.
So we took our first trade in Intel of the day. It had nice downward trend, and it finally broke VWAP. So I'm like, oh, I'll short it to VWAP, and it broke VWAP almost right away. So I talked mess about the stock, and it decides it wants to make me go for one on it. All right, Intel. I'll wait for the highs. 2020 is the high. I'm not either at VWAP or underneath that high of the day. Not going to mess around with it too much. So first trade in Apple, it'll have to be a scalp trade because usually I'd be buying some kind of a support level down here or down off of VWAP. And this seems like it's way too strong. Way too strong. Tommy in the chat, what's my look on Lucid today? I haven't looked at Lucid today. I know $3 was really big the other day. So I suppose $3 would be the level you want to look at on Lucid. Yeah, it just keeps holding $3.
Yeah, this.
Like, what else are you going to do? Like, buy Lucid in front of $3. Maybe it can break out 320, but what's going to get it there? What's the catalyst? It's not really moving.
Yeah, so I'm kind of just again staring down this tape, man. Again, it's a little bit choppy. It's not necessarily a straightforward read here on Shopify, but it's pretty decent. Yes, staring it down. I like those close-ups. But yeah, Apple breaking trend now. So
yeah,
Apple's breaking trend and then confluencing with that 18.5. Let's see if that 18.5 on the DAC pulls back in. A little bit of a pullback here on both the ES as well. So we were talking about that prior week level coming in as potential resistance, and here it comes in. For now, let's see if that 18.5 holds, and let's see if Apple holds some of that trend as well. Maybe it's just a false break of that trend. 67's pulling back in as of right now here on Shopify, just holding above this this morning range, right? So this morning range quite extensive here. 67's all the way down to 65 halves there, and we pull up. We try to break that range. We push into day highs, and then we pull back into the high of that range as of right now. Let's see if we do some reclaiming. VWAP all the way down at 65.94s now, so that VWAP is definitely stepping up. So about a point away from that VWAP as of right now. Let's see what we do in and around this Shopify. Again, talking about that anchored from earlier on this year, acting as a bit of resistance at the highs, and we are pulling right back in to 66 halves. So let's see how far we can get with that. Do we continue to trend up? We have been making higher highs and higher lows, so I do have to be very wary of that action there. Opening price on this candle right now is 76s. Can we break the open on this candle? Yes, we can. 66.71's trading right now on Shopify. Let's see if we can slam down into that VWAP and see if those VWAP buyers come right back in again. Look at how clean those VWAP buyers have been every time we kind of get back in. But Let's see if they're showing some strength. Are we extending off of VWAP? Do those buyers like it so much that they're willing to step in above VWAP now to kind of carry this forward as we were uptrending on the day? But the market quadunking, a little bit of a strong
SMCI low of the day.
flush coming right back in. SMCI what?
SMCI low of the day. 520 on the bid of SMCI. I got to pay for locates. So as Obi mentioned, that trend bounce on Apple does not hold. I was actually buying the trend line, and it just broke it. So broke that trend line, I'm out of it. I don't have locates on ARM. I'm just going ahead and paying them. Thank you, Real Trading. 1/8 of 1 cent per share for locates. I say it every single time because they're really cheap for us here. But here is the low. Okay, SMCI was looking like it was breaking the low of the day. It didn't quite get there. When I zoom in, it broke 520 again, but the local bottom is 517.50. Hindsight being 2020, and obviously this is true. Remember when I was in that long off the trend, I was like, something doesn't feel right at that 538 level for the long? It was just so very clearly a short right at that moment when it retested that same level. Now, I was biased to the SSR bounce play, so in my opinion, it was a get out of the long situation there. But my goodness, was that the exact moment to have looked for the short. That's when it broke that upward trend for good, when it failed the same level where the sellers were that got me out. So, you got to move on to the next. But I think that was one of those things to observe. Whoops, got to confirm the ARM shorts. We'll go ahead for that. But yeah, that was quite the reversal. Still no break of the low for SMCI. It just bounced off the low one more time. But it feels a little bit inevitable at this point that we're going to see this trend back into the bottom. This could get nasty. And before we go over to Adara, the reason why I pay for locates on ARM is this. ARM is the one thing moving. I thought SMCI would be a big one, and I've been kind of biding my time looking for the entries to the long. Unfortunately, we only got one of them. We missed ARM altogether. Multiple breakdowns on this stock. Let's see what we can work with after we get back from the small cap recap with Adara. How did I miss?
Really clean break below support here in the 3-minute chart for the IWM after holding support here at this 206.60 level for quite some time with lower highs. We just made our way below it, trying to climb back up right now with some volume actually for the Russell 2000. So some interesting things brewing, though it is still up on the day. In terms of small caps, it's a bit interesting. We have some with slightly larger market caps that have some news today, including Lumen Technologies, LUMN. This one is a name currently around $6, does have a market cap after its earnings of around $5 billion, getting some upgrades from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs after their earnings. So good look for LUMN with a 13.6% short float. Upstart as well, I'm seeing as of before today's earnings, before yesterday's earnings, a market cap here of just over $2 billion, so a smaller name. They did beat earnings per share and sales estimates, guiding higher than expected Q3 2024 revenue. So UPST near day's highs. Another notable short float here, around 27% for Upstart. Last but not least here, we have more of a traditional small cap here for lack of a better term. We have Autotext, ADTX, the subsidiary of this company, Pure Santa, apparently seeking some clinical trial research awards. So good look here for ADTX. This one here, $1.99 million market cap, so just under $2 million market cap. Short float of about 11% for ADTX, guys.
So just thank you very much, Adara. I actually wanted to comment on Lumen, but first, before I do that, I mentioned we talked about ARM. We mentioned Micron could potentially break down. The other thing holding VWAP here is AMD holding it to the good at 134. We had a failed breakout on AMD earlier, and again, breakout trade is going to be different from like a dip buy for me. Like it's just I want it to work right away. If it doesn't, I'm willing to jump out and reassess. But suddenly, that same level, this is what it looks like on a 15-minute. Do you see what I see? Support at 134 here. While everything else is breaking down, you just wick the bottom on SMCI. You're at lows on ARM, and Nvidia has been tracking a lot lower. So we jumped away from that one, I think, at the right time. Now I think it would be making sense to just look for VWAP longs off AMD. It's bounced pretty big off this 134. I should say 134, not VWAP, because VWAP is just a line at 134.5. Support is down here at the 134 level. And going over to Lumen, Lumen has really started to break down and trend down. However, I've seen this before, where you get failed break after failed break, and then everybody gives up on the stock. It goes into pre-market support, which is at $6. That was also an aftermarket level, and then catches a bit of a bid. So I got eyeballs on Lumen for this 6. If it can show a bounce here, heck, if you can find a 25-cent risk on Lumen at any price, it's going to be worth it. And now you go Palantir.
Yeah, I'm watching this Uber as well. Bit of a break of trend on Uber. Again, some confluence with the market pullback as well. Uber ATR is 3 points right there, and we've done about 3 points off of the open there as well. Let me just pull it up on this chart here so I can take a closer look at what's going on. So right here, this is what I'm talking about. Look at that, doing about 1 times RVol, breaking through that trend. Oh boy, all right, cool. Okay, so I wanted to take a little bit more on that one there, but that's okay. Let's see if that rebid kind of fails to follow through. We're rebidding into 67.70s, high day 68.30s as of right now. So let's see if we can get a little bit of a move down in towards that VWAP right here, 67.25s. Now again, day 2, very, very strong on the day here. Actually, very, very strong from prior day here. A bit of a continuation move happening here off the open, but take a look at this. Off the open, very, very aggressive. Let me get the bottom of that wick right here. Opening range low to the current high a day, 3.11, 4.77% to the upside on Uber. As it kind of continues a bit of that trend here, but let's see. I might be a little too early on this. This could again, a lot of people consider different things a trend break, but I'm just looking at some of this right here for a potential reversion. I have no idea whether or not it's going to come in. Wow, take a look at that. So I did kind of piece off of that Shopify. Shopify comes in to 67 halves again. I was like, okay, that bid is catching 66.50s, but look at this. Chop, 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 chop. Higher highs and higher lows over time on Shopify. So a nice little trend range happening if you're fast enough to kind of chop that up a little bit there. Yeah, every time, look at that. 66 half. So I did get short on the false break of the high a day there. As soon as it kind of popped in with aggression and didn't really go anywhere, we saw the aggression that was happening. So in my mind, I'm like, if that high breaks, like we should go. And it didn't go. It pulls right back in. I'm like, all right, well, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of players trying to play that high a day break, and they're just getting clocked on the pullback down. And we saw how heavy some of that selling and that volatility is. I'm like, 50 pennies to the downside. Somebody's probably getting stopped out. Yeah, it did kind of flush right back in just over a point there, 66 halves. Catches a bid again on 66 halves, and then I'm like, all right, well, peace off a little bit. Reclaim 67. I'm like, oh boy, are we really going to continue out to the upside? Get out of everything. I'm like, all right, hold on. Let's continue to watch this a little bit and see what kind of pans out on this ticker here. We already did a false break of the high, and we pulled in. Now we're making higher highs above VWAP. Do we extend off of VWAP there as the buying comes in a little bit over VWAP? We were talking about some of that firming up of the bidders, potentially that buying pressure that came in right off of the open there. Again, a little bit of a chip chop happening here. Market's pulling in quite really aggressively. 18.5, pulling back into some of these pre-market consolidation lows.
Quick alert.
4s. What's going on, Neil?
So quick alert. ARM did not get the short on the first available pop. Micron broke down, so I took Remember Micron were like consolidation, good news, and starts to sell off with the market. So broke VWAP, consolidated, did not get it up here, took the break. Took some out in front of 91.20. ARM did not get that fill up at 114. Still want to play that trend in ARM if we can get it. So while that was all going on, SMCI made another test of this is the bottom on SMCI. It's like 517.77. It just bounced once and then twice off 518. So right there off the bottom, SMCI is clinging to support. Now some people will be like, well, it could bounce and get to VWAP. That's $14. Or it could lose it and go to 500, which would be $17 to the downside. I want to get into an ARM short if we can, but if we lose that bid, forget about all these longs, man. Like AMD's trying to bounce 134. If this starts cratering on SMCI, I'm not going to want that. AMD's losing 134 as we speak. So everything started to come into the downside. Looks like we're about to get the first 50 pennies on Micron, but I got eyeballs right here on a low of the day take, it looks like on SMCI. It's SSR. There's almost no chance to get, I guarantee you're not getting fills on this break of the even dollar. Yeah, and that would be absolutely correct. Nothing, no. Yeah, you're not getting filled. I got to be careful getting swept up on the way back into the upside on a move like that. But you guys just saw it. Like, it broke. You could cross $1. You're not getting a fill. It's SSR, short sell restricted. There's going to have to be a pop to get into this name, and we'll have to see where that pop lies on SMCI. Breaking the lows, I got Micron. The next bid should be around 90 even. Sorry, 90 on the 90. Actually, you know what? I wasn't bidding 91 even. So I will just take some out at 91 even and then look over, see if we can find something here on SMCI. SSR means you can't hit that bid. Brandon Hottie, you mentioned SMCI short at 538, would have been smart. How aren't shorts restricted today? You can't short by removing liquidity on the bid, so hitting the bid to get into position, unless the last tick is an uptick. You can still go short. You just have to get picked up on the offer instead of hitting the bid aggressively. That's what SSR means. That's what short sell restricted means. It's just the uptick rule. And I mentioned 538 in the context of this looking weak at that level when I was long 34s. If I really believed in short there, I would have shorted it myself. I just thought get out of the long for the $4 instead of like 8 or 10. That's all I was thinking. And again, at the end of the day, you've just got to be able to make the read that you can on those markets. And you know what? Reality here at Real Trading, we have the ability to trade a professional platform, learn the right way how the market's structured. Like, you ask yourself, why do I look at SSR plays? Why am I looking at that tape on SMCI and seeing that it looked like a bit of a sell? I got out of my long. It was the right place. Maybe I could have found that short opportunity. Do not want to be long Micron here. But if you want to learn to tape read, if you want to learn about market structure, if you want to learn to trade real money and gain real professional experience, then this campus program is for you. If you are in Canada and you are interested in trading on this P-Pro 8 platform that Obi's on, that Sean trades on, that I trade on, that Sharif and Adara and all the traders behind us, Max, we got Wayne and Brankles up on the bridge. Everybody here learns the same way. You start out, again, this is going to be free. You start out with an introduction to the markets. You'll learn things like SSR. What is short selling? How the market structure works? What are the different gateways you can use? Then you're going to learn about P-Pro 8, the platform that we trade on, made for traders, by traders. You'll be a couple of weeks in that. Then you go into the simulator. Again, you're going to have one-on-one coaching in this program, the free program. Do that for about a month. Then you have the opportunity for what everybody wants. Go live, trade real money, gain real profits. That's what it's all about here. So that is the goal at all times, but you want to learn. And there's no better way to learn than free. You can put 10 grand into a bunch of accounts and blow them up. Or if you're in Canada, you can try this program out, which is very similar to what a lot of the traders on the floor go through. At the end of the day, you put your time and effort into it, about 16 hours a week, and you come out learning a bunch. At the worst. At the best, you become a funded trader. That's what everyone wants. Let's go to the desk with Adair.
We have some people in the crypto space, hedge fund managers, that type of thing in this crypto space, saying that they still see a lot of strength in BTC despite that move down. We have analysts and directors from groups like OnRamp, Market Vector, and Bitwise speaking out here in this Yahoo Finance article with Matt Haugen, who is the CIO of Bitwise, actually saying that due to the psychology of Bitcoin, despite that big drop we had, because we have Bitcoin holders tending to be more HODL or hold on for dear life rather than short-term investors, there is still a potential for this asset to push higher and actually make new all-time highs in 2024, despite that pullback we had. So Bitcoin today trying to hold on to that 56,000 level right now, taking a bit of a move back with the rest of the market. We were around 57,000 before the most recent drop in that NQ and the SPY. Bitcoin slightly up on the day here. Ethereum, though, feeling a little bit of a hit here, down just over 4%, holding on to that 2,400 level. The rest of the crypto space, similarly pretty mixed. Solana up, Tron up. We have Ripple down, Doge down, Cardano down. But these names that are down are a little bit less hit than the names that are up. So interesting mixed picture here for cryptocurrencies, guys.
So I was telling Obi on Micron just there, I went to cover at the opening. So it's not the opening range. This is when they announced the buyback. Was down right around here at 90.80. So I'm like, okay, well, that's a good place to bid. I actually keystroked the long, which would have been good, but the plan wasn't to go long, it was to get out of the short. So I did, got out of it, was long as I was doing that read for the campus programs. I'm like, just punch out, Neil. I mean to be covering here at that level, not going long. Obviously, again, just like the SMCI thing, like you get out because you think it's a turning point. It doesn't necessarily mean I think it's a long at that point. Clearly, it looks like a good one, and hindsight being 2020. I'm going to look for a lower high to short. Okay, so SMCI came back and now has resistance at 518. So once, twice, 4 times on a 15-minute chart, it can't get through the 518 level. Looks like it wants to head further to the downside. ARM is still hanging right around off of its lows. I'm looking for where the relative strength is. It seems like it's still in Apple, Obi. It's certainly not an SMCI.
No, that Apple looked like it was doing a bit of a reversion, and then not really. That bid steps right back in, and we push right back up. We barely even pulled back 210s and some change, high 210s and some change on Apple on that pull. Again, we talk about that breakout, that 210 breakout, holding fast there. And again, the market doing a little bit of a reversion here back towards some of prior week's levels. We talk about, anyway, we can talk about why things may have happened, if things are overextended to one way or the other. Fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, you got to observe and kind of work with what the market is doing. Because like, if anybody's like, oh, the market is definitely going to do this, I'm like, okay, well, that person is definitely lost in the sauce, and probabilities is how we want to be thinking. Exactly. Trust me, bro. But here's the thing. There are certain scenarios, sure, you can have a very high degree of confidence, and that's fine. But I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen tomorrow in the next hour or so. We saw what happened yesterday, right? Like bidding up. Yep. All of a sudden, something comes out, and then boom, we flush to the downside at the end of the day there. So interesting action nonetheless. But yeah, no, Tesla taking a pull to the downside. SMCI finally breaking below that consolidation low.
Lost it.
Yeah, so it's continuing that sell-off now. 510s incoming on SMCI. Tesla as well pulling back in. Let's see what else. Intel still holding in and around that 20s, Neil. I know that 20 was a good place to kind of do some business yesterday, and we're kind of chopping and churning in and around those 20s. Nvidia makes a high of 108.80s and pulling into 104.88s as of right now. Day low at 104.29s. So interesting stuff. I asked you guys in the chat, so it's been about an hour since the open. What have you guys traded? What have you guys done? How has your morning, how has the first hour of that morning session gone for you guys? Trader Forever saying, I am long SMCI now.
Ever?
Oh boy. All right.
Good luck out there for sure. I mean, even AMD, well, I'll get to Micron in a second. ARM is just gone. I paid for the locates, but I wasn't willing to punch the low there. But AMD lost the 134 level in a big way. It then confirmed selling underneath VWAP in 134 again. So that was the keeper. I've only traded AMD off this price level, and it's right back underneath it. So that means short it. If we bounce 133.2, then I take this out. It's the time of the day where if something wants to reestablish itself as strong, the pre-market breakout was right here at 33. The original dip off the open was here at 133.25. So if it bounces off that at in the middle of the day, that would make some sense to me. So we're short this one. Essentially just started flipping and looking shorts on the chip names because of this. That's SMCI. And if you look at what's happening to ARM as well, I mean, ARM is absolutely bleeding to the downside. Chill vibes in the chat saying Meta's going to lose 500. Oh, yeah, you're right about that. See, this is what it's looking like. I mean, you're not in any longs anymore. I'm not looking at any longs at this current moment unless it's basically just Apple. And if you guys let me know something else that's strong. I see Apple looking pretty good. I know Upstart's still going, at least the last time I checked it. But everything looks like they're heading to the downside. 500 break. I hate hitting lows when the futures are bouncing. I would much prefer the reason I'm into AMD because it makes sense. It set itself up. The support level at 134 broke. It tried to bounce back above. It failed back above that level and then came back down. That set up a short trade. I don't really see a setup in Meta yet. It doesn't mean it's not there, but I just don't see a setup for it. A pop and another lower high, that would be a setup for a short trade here on Meta. 500 is going to break on SMCI.
Yeah, a couple of replies there to what I was saying in the chat. So Hans in the chat saying he got into a long on NQ and got out before it dropped so good, but almost heart attack. Yeah, exactly. Glad you got out before that drop on the NQs. We're coming right back into some of those consolidation levels we saw right before the open there, 18.4s. On that, Quantron asking, what do you think about the Amazon break of 167? So, okay, all right, let's take a look at Amazon. I haven't really looked at it today. Oh boy, look at that chop. That is a range happening. Look, that definitely looks like a messy jungle here of candles. Take a look at that. Straight. Look at those bars. Look at those wicks, Neil. That is some price action, some consolidation, right? We talk about consolidations happening. This consolidation is happening above prior day's highs right there. And look at that, Friday's range as well. So we already broke Monday's high yesterday on Amazon. We broke prior day's high, yesterday's high today, right off of the open. And we're back into the range that we pretty much were at on Friday. So Amazon's had a little bit of a recovery here already into Friday's levels. Should be interesting, but take a look at this chop happening on top of VWAP there. So shout out to my range traders on Amazon happening here. What is that? 65 and some change. Highs at 66s and some change. So about a point of a wash orbiting around VWAP, right? So you can take the reversion into VWAP. You can take the edges of the range. You can take the range breakouts, failure to follow throughs. A lot that can happen here, but the market is holding some of these levels, and Amazon is consolidating after bidding back up and holding prior day's highs. So it should be interesting. You were talking about that 167, 166.99 high of day as of right now. Yeah, it could be interesting. If we do get back up there, it could definitely be interesting, Quantron. And Friday's highs I'm looking at right here, a bit of a double top at that 168.59 though. So that's what that's how I kind of see that Amazon as of right now. But this chop and churn looking very interesting. What's going on, Adara?
This part of the show is brought to you by Stonks.com. Want a chance to win $1,000 every day? Stonks.com is giving out $1,000 daily. And entering is super easy. Predict the stock price after the earnings report. Today, we're looking at Robinhood. All it takes is 30 seconds to join. Just go to stonks.com, sign up, and hit the Make Prediction button. And potentially win $1,000. It's that simple. Each day, you get one free ticket to predict. Want more chances? Share your referral link and get 5 extra tickets for each sign up. Go to stonks.com, don't miss out, and good luck. Great look here for the market, as you can see reflected here in the board. And really, the main story this is telling is strength across the market, with the exception of some earnings names. Health technology definitely telling that story. We have the 2 majorly weak names today being Amgen and Eli Lilly. Amgen just reported earnings yesterday after the close. Eli Lilly moving in sympathy with Novo Nordisk, and Lilly itself has earnings tomorrow morning. So this sector interesting. Consumer services, same kind of idea. Strengthened basically across the board with the exception of Disney and Airbnb, both day one earnings names. Retail trade a bit more mixed here though. Consumer durables pretty strong. Consumer non-durables pretty strong. Utilities, energy, minerals, producer manufacturing, commercial services, process industries, communications, all pretty much green across the board here. Finance also especially strong. BAC notably to the upside, up about 3.5%. And of course, this technology services sector is worth discussing. Pretty much every name here is green, with a lot of them being sharply to the upside. CRM, NFLX, CrowdStrike, Fortinet as well, up more than 20% after earnings. So generally, with the exception of a few earnings losers, good look here for the market as a whole, guys.
Nice. Thank you.
We are back from Sector Watch. Wow, what a move. What a move we're seeing in some of the chip names here. But I wanted to go to Lyft for a second. We just mentioned Shopify is going up. I took one break. Didn't work. Right back into the previous high. Did not jump back into it. That's going to be the story for me today. Well, the story for me today is going to be SMCI. I was completely convinced SMCI, and ultimately, like, the one scalp trade is SMCI. ultimately the one scalp trade is my best trade on the day. However, it just inadvertently set up what could have been an absolute monster short. And I wasn't there. I was still thinking trend long. I wasn't even thinking reversion on that stock. It's bouncing off 500, at least for now. I wanted to get to Lyft. I said some things are strong, some things are weak. Lyft is doing a very interesting thing right now. Bouncing off $9, obviously down 13%. So look at this ridiculous barcode in the pre-market right here at $9.50. Now look at it barcode after trying to break it out at $9.50. I feel like if it loses $9.50, this should be a short. Here on Lyft, it's short sell restricted. If it breaks, it doesn't mean you can't get filled. It just might make it tricky to catch a fill. So the chip names are catching a bit of a bid, but I wanted to go over that on Lyft while I got the chance. AMD pulling right back into VWAP. Remember what I said. If AMD decides it wants to regain VWAP, that's that opening range breakout and support level. If it's just simply bouncing off here for another break higher, it is a relatively strong stock. So I do not want this breaking out above VWAP. It's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong, right? So I don't mind if this one wants to take out the top here through that $0.50. Going to jump out of that trade. Can always reestablish it lower. There are weaker names out there. This being one of them. That would be ARM. We mentioned Nvidia is also weak. We got away from that and look at this. Wow, Nvidia is really screaming to the upside.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That bid back
Let me double check. Okay, stop is still in. I double checked my stop to make sure it was still in on AMD the way I saw Nvidia coming to the upside here.
Yeah, so a little bit of a strong bid back through that 18 halves right there. I am just running through some of the top volume gainers on the day. Again, Shopify, that long off of VWAP was definitely the trade. It's pushing up a little bit higher. Those buyers coming in a little bit higher than VWAP really now, pushing into it. So yeah, let's go through some of these runners on the day. Volume gainers I'm watching. If I can just pull that out. Okay, cool. So volume gainers on the day. We can start from the top. That's what I was kind of looking at. It's like intraday scans, right? So something like moves are certainly some morning moves are kind of done, in my opinion. We've kind of been doing some other things now. Market's bidding right back up. 18 halves are pushing right now. And again, it seems like that VIX might be kind of pulling back in. We're trading at, or it's at 2264 right now on the VIX. So a nice little volatility reversion off of the craziness that we had coming in over the weekend. Lumen lighting the way for potential moves, continuations to the or not really to the upside. We're just kind of consolidating within the core of this earnings reaction that we had. $6 to $7.50 as of right now. So Lumen, interesting stuff. Let us know. Have you guys been trading Lumen today? I know that there's been some interesting interest on Lumen. Let's go to the 15-minute chart. Let's get that VWAP out of the way as well. I like my charts clean, as I can see the candles. I can see a little bit of the price action a little bit better that way. Nvidia, a bit of an uptrend over the past 3 days. Lyft holding that 9. Palantir, today's day 2 earnings. We have broken out of day 1 highs, attempting to push a potential reaction high, earnings reaction high, 28.79s, but a point away from that one on PLTR. Tesla, a bit of a sideways chop here, sideways consolidation. We've been washing that 200 level for the past 3 days as well on Tesla. So this whole week, Shopify continuing to push to the upside, another volume leader on the day. Rivian, you were talking about this one, Neil. Rivian is hella strong to the upside. Talk about a bid back up. Rivian, flying. Look at that. Breaks that pre-market earnings reaction trend, pulls right up into that prior support, maybe potentially turn resistance. Prior support level here, 14 halves on Rivian. So a nice little look on that one. Strength, got some market confluence as well with the market bidding up quite extensively.
Apple
what
high
is
day
this?
break.
GTHX. This is looking a little bit like a buyout here. So yeah, if you're trading those,
that is a buyout.
That is straight up a buyout, looking the way it's kind of trading right now. And I'm pretty sure if I look into it, it will say
$7.15 cash.
$7.15 cash.
$7.15 GTHX, $7.15 cash. Like there is on GTHX, there is probably 500,000 shares on the bid and 800,000. 600,000 or 700,000 shares on the offer of I'm just looking up on a level 2. I have it up on a level 2. very quickly, we mentioned AMD and VWAP, and that stop order. Palantir is about to break 28. So AMD broke VWAP. I'm out. First short worked. Now we're out of it. I did not reshort MU. Eyes on Palantir for me. It's got this trend since it broke out here. It's got this trend that it's holding. A failed break at 28 to me is a break trend, come back into 27.5, which is support. But this is a higher low into a flat top on PLTR. It did break. The 28 is broken, and there is a print at 28.5. So currently, the high is actually 28.5, which you don't see very often. So to me, we need to break the 01s. If it breaks 01, then I think it's really gone. So just a quick note on Palantir. I know for everyone's going to see the chart and say, 28's the high here. It actually has run stops at 28 a couple of times. So I would need it to break 01s to look for a long trade here in Palantir. I'm going to set a stop for a break. It was just adjusting it because I actually had it at a break of 8 and then realized the high of the day is just slightly above that. So Palantir right at a key 28 level. I think I can play this in either direction. I really don't mind. If it breaks the trend down, I would short that trend break. If we break out to the upside here, we'll look for that long over there on Palantir. So any second now that could happen. I don't want to get away from the level 2. I want to show you guys the bounce that just happened off 505. When SMCI catches a bid, like it really catches a bid. And it's trying to roll back over. The opening range bottom was here at 17. I feel like if it fails the 520, Palantir doing still there. If it fails like about 520 and comes back down, I think you could see a retest of the low. So while I'm waiting for Palantir to break this high or break trend back down, let's go over to the desk for Money Talks with Adair.
Tail candle here for the DXY on the daily chart, though a second consecutive green candle. We don't have much economic data on the horizon today. At 3 p.m. that we do have the consumer credit change for the month of June coming up, but we did have some interesting movements yesterday in regards to the market as a whole. Yesterday afternoon, we had the White House acknowledging economic volatility, basically asserting, though, that there is some strength and resilience in the broader economy. The major thing, though, that's happened this week and continues to happen this week on a week that's a bit lighter on economic data and updates is going to be the fallout from that Japanese yen carry trade. We're continuing to have analysts talk about the potential impact of this trade. There's even the global strategist at UBS saying that of the $500 billion position built up over the years in this carry trade since 2011, roughly $200 billion or 40% of that trade unloaded over the last 2 weeks alone. So due to the size of this trade, there are analysts thinking that this could still have long-term effects. So when looking at the DXY this week, be aware of that carry trade. Could still potentially be some ramifications for that, guys.
Thank you very much there, Adair. While Palantir is still doing the same dance with this 28 level. So I know you're an Uber. I'm just staring at this thing. Goes to 99, goes to evens, wicks to top, and you're getting a lot of consolidation up here. So either way this breaks, I'm going to have it. Breaks down, I'm going to go short. I'm going to punch short manually if it breaks down, but I have a stop order to go long. And I explained this before. This is if it breaks that high, my limit order is just going to here. I'm only crossing the 5s on Palantir.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, just keeping a close eye here on Uber as it kind of chops around this 68, 67 halves mark as of right now. Market's pulling back up, so I do have to be kind of wary and careful on that one there. But yeah, a little bit of a pull back up, and then pushes right back in through that 68 mark. So got to keep a close eye on that one. But something I do want to note, Neil, Apple is pushing for that Monday high right now, 213.44s on Apple. So a little bit of a push. Again, 18.5s holding on the NASDAQ as well. And that strength coming in a little bit across on some of these larger caps as well. So I got to keep those on watch. Let's take a quick look.
Palantir
Apple
broke.
to the upside. Amazon actually broke that 167. Oh boy, did that really come in? 50 pennies to the upside. 167.50s on Amazon right now. So that's absolutely crazy. We did kind of break that chop consolidation from the morning session, and we are pushing aggressively to the upside. 167 though. I'm looking at my chart here. I got a bit of a line there. Let's see what we do.
Very quickly,
Multi-time frame levels.
Palantir broke that even level. I got 01s on the way up. Immediate resistance at 10s. I mean, it's a $28 stock, so maybe every 10 cents is just going to do that. The thing about this trade is, so you still have that trend line that I'm observing here, and a fail of this trend line would still indicate to me, like I'd still be looking for a reversion. So I'm just going to follow this trend. It probably establishes a different one after 28, which a key breakout like this. So on the breakout trade, I want to give it to this trend line. If we get, I'm sitting in front of 28.20 for the next opportunity for a take profit. We'll see if we get that. Oh, SMCI, as I was sitting staring at that level too, SMCI, which you can trade on Blue Ocean overnight. You have that available. I just went to that symbol accidentally. Went right to the 520, slams back down. And again, if you're not getting short when you're trying to get it on the way back down in the stock, remember it's short sell restricted and the spread just opens up. When it's going down, the spread really opens up and getting fills is not the easiest thing in the world. But it did turn at that 520 level, reestablish that opening range bottom and heading right back into the lows. I got to look over at Micron here. Okay, so Palantir just lost that bid. Micron did set up again for a short. I'll see if I can jump back into the Micron short. But Palantir just reversed it. So first things first, I want to make sure you guys saw that SMCI. Palantir lost to 28. If it holds this trend, we're able to scalp into the, it basically gave you like 8 or 9 cents there, and I lost 2. So it was still good. But if it's going to lose this trend line, I was looking for a reversal short. That's got to work much more explosively, kind of how it would have here on a breakout is what I'm looking for. Otherwise, let's look for the reverse breakdown.
Yeah, so taking a bit of a pullback here, wick action happening on the 15-minute candles here on the NASDAQ. You can see we're pulling back in a little bit where we've seen some 15-minute wicks off of the open, right? 18,550s acting as a little bit of a level there. Apple as well, taking a little bit of a pullback off of those 213 halves. Right here, you can see a little bit of a pullback there coming in on Apple. Let's see if we kind of continue, or does that dip get bought up as well? 18.5 seems like an interesting level here on the day today when it comes to the NASDAQ. So, you know, gotta be a little patient. Gotta be a little patient with that one there, and see how some of those highs get dealt with, how that comes in. Uber still holding above this VWAP right now and just chopping sideways. Nothing too crazy right now. 67. Take a look at this false break once again. So we push for high a day on Shopify. False break, pulls right back in. 67's coming in now. So 67, what is that? What were the highs there? 67.70s was the high. We pull right back in. So we're getting a lot of this chop in an uptrend. So chop and churn range to the upside as of right now here on Shopify. So it's, like I said, if you're playing the range, I think that this one's been pretty interesting. Again, not the easiest, but definitely moving upwards in a range type of motion there. Take a look at that 18.5. I'm seeing a lot of reds coming in on a few of these tapes here. What is going on? Are we pulling back significantly on anything? What's Intel up to, man? Are we still going to be shorting that one there? No, definitely not. We're back at 20, so a little bit of a sideways chop on Intel. AMD holding sideways. Van Eck back within, maybe not in its opening range, trading a little bit below its opening range, below its VWAP as well on Van Eck. And by Van Eck, I mean SMH. That's what I mean. Wow, take a look at that pullback, Neil, breaking that trend to the upside. Shopify, nice little reversion back through that 67 and some change there. But again, it is not the easiest ticker it's not a straightforward ticker in my opinion. I don't want to use the word easy. Nothing's easy. Things are either straightforward or they're not.
That's a better word. I like that. I like that, straightforward or not. Like that's the way. That's the way that it's going to work. Oh yeah, it looks like Palantir break is going to go. So first, I want to get to your. I'll get to your super chat there, Mr. Swearington. So Palantir, quick breakout at 28, scalp trade. Said I wanted to work the short if it broke the trend. It broke the trend and reestablished. So I did get out of that right away when it didn't work. Because the way I see it, if it's breaking this trend, I want it flushing. like flush right away. Instead, you're right back going into the longs. I think it's a different trade buying dips into a trend than it is taking the flat top break. It has to go right away. I am into Micron again, but before I get to that, shout out to you and thank you very much, Justin Swearington. Smash the like button, hit that like, hit that subscribe. More importantly, make sure you tune in every single day, but hit the subscribe if you want to be in the chat. If you want to engage with us, ask questions, as we're sharing thoughts about SMCI today, Uber, obviously a little bit of Upstart, and Shopify have been fantastic. The chip names have been absolutely nuts today. Those are always fun, but appreciate you and thank you for the nice words and kind words there, Justin Swearington. You made you just shorting the queues and heading to the beach.
Nice.
Nothing wrong with that. I don't know where you are, but if you're close enough to a beach, then you're somewhere nice as far as I'm concerned. There's beaches in Canada, but in my books, they're not really beaches. Like we have beaches too, and they're not that close to here, but they're also not real beaches. If it's not white sands, then it's not a real beach. If it's a bunch of rocks next to water, then it's not a real beach. So people in Canada will say that we have beaches, and I respectfully disagree on 90% of them.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Once you've been, okay, so maybe a little bit of story time. I was in, what was it? I was in Grenada for a bit.
Nice.
And white sand beaches, some of the best in the world.
Second best, definitely not the best.
Some of the best.
The best beaches in the entire world are on the island of Antigua. If you want white sand beaches, go to Antigua. There are three. It's an island of 100,000 people, the size of Brampton, which is a town here. And on top of that, like I said, 365 beaches, and they're all public, which is really cool. That basically means you could be at some fancy-ass resort that they don't want people just running to, and you want to park and you want to go lime on the beach, then you can.
Hey.
Full disclosure, my family is from Antigua, so
nice.
I am not paid to say that. I've just been there a bunch, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But Grenada is amazing as well. And shout out to the Grenadian track team. They are so fantastic. I'm loving the track. By the way, as I say that, I'm just going to say this because I've said I love the track and field, and I just made a reference to it. If people in the chat could please not spoil any of the track that's going on right now, because I watch it when I go home. I watch it in the car on the way home, and then I get driven home, by the way. I'm not trying to watch it while I'm driving. But please don't spoil what happens in the track. It's been unbelievable watching the Olympics.
Yeah, so Shopify.
No, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, no, you kind of be like.
I kind of just probably
don't think about what is it? A red and white panda, and then what comes into your mind, right? Kind of a similar concept. You never heard that? You tell someone like, oh, don't think about this, and then it's like you're almost inducing that thought into.
But I didn't get the reference. I understand the concept, but what the?
Well, it's not really a reference. Like I've heard it being said before.
Oh, it's 11 o'clock already.
It is. Wow, time has flown.
I didn't even get.
I tried a couple of longs on top of VWAP when Shopify slammed right back into VWAP there, but a couple tries, that's fine. I will walk away from those couple of tries as that VWAP test. Distinctly different from the prior ones there. Slamming right back in through. So giving up a lot of those gains in the morning session right now is Shopify. What is the opening price? 64.50s. All right.
All right. So apparently it's 11 o'clock already. I just checked it. We did get the lunch menu. We got Thai green curry coconut. Thai green curry coconut crusted white fish with steamed rice and roasted vegetables. Okay, that sounds rather enticing. I will be having a salad. Currently, the only thing I'm in right now is Micron, which is heading back into the downside. I know you're in a short as well in Uber, as the market's actually trying to reverse a little bit. But it's time to learn to trade with the professor and Adara. Go get him. Just stare down SMCI.